on ESPNU.
You know, you sometimes afraid to do stuff. Relax and play the daggum game. You can do it. I guarantee you, you can do it as good as you've ever done it here before.
Welcome to Baltimore, Maryland for ESPNU College Football Primetime, presented by McDonald's. Tonight, we salute our veterans and thank them for all they do from Hughes Stadium on the campus of Morgan State University. It's a MEAC matchup as the Bears host the Bulldogs of South Carolina State. Let's check out the latest MEAC standings. Bethune-Cookman still on top at 6-0, and a win Saturday against Howard would give them the MEAC title. South Carolina State tied with FAMU for second at 5-1, while Morgan State is in fourth at 3-3. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie Neal, and throughout the evening, I'll be bringing you updates on what's happening in black college football. As for this game, Morgan State will be trying to snap a two-game losing streak. While for South Carolina State, they must continue to win if they're going to keep alive their hopes of returning to the FCS playoffs for the third straight year. And for more on tonight's game, let's take it upstairs to the guys calling the action, Anish Shroff and Jay Walker. Gentlemen.
All right, thank you, Charlie. With Jay, I'm Anish, and for the South Carolina State team, there are two losses, one to Georgia Tech of the ACC, the other to undefeated Bethune-Cookman. They know they have to take care of business these last two games.
Yeah, anytime you're trying to get into postseason contests, you need style points. And they have acceptable losses that you mentioned there before, but they need some style points. Look for them to try and come out and put up an impressive number here on Morgan State tonight.
And all season long, South Carolina State has done it with defense. Number one in the nation in total offense, number one against the pass, number two against the rush. There's not a lot of weaknesses there.
Yeah, if you have a great defense, you must have great players. And just one of the great players on this South Carolina State defense is David Irby. He plays what they call their dog linebacker position, which is like a rover back. You see the 70 tackles for the season that he has, but more impressively, he's got 49 tackles, which are solo tackles. Quite simply put, anytime he's around the football, chalk it up. It's a tackle.
And going up against this vaunted South Carolina State defense, a freshman quarterback in Delonte Williams.
Delonte Williams is a freshman, but they're really impressed by the things he does that are not freshman-like. Charisma, poise, and the ability to not hamper on his mistakes.
Coming up, Professor Jay is going to tell us the one player on Morgan State who might be able to help out that freshman quarterback the most.
When you join together talented.
Welcome back to Baltimore. South Carolina State and Morgan State just getting ready for kickoff with Jay Walker. I'm Anish Shroff, and let's meet the coaches for these two teams. Buddy Pugh in his 9th year at South Carolina State, a 67-26 record. He was the MEAC Coach of the Year last season, trying to get his team into the postseason for a third straight year.
Let's take a look at this lesson plan, Anish. Offensively for South Carolina State, it's a long time coming. Who am I talking about when I say a long time coming for South Carolina State?
It's got to be the quarterback.
Malcolm Long, preseason offensive player of the year. He's got to start playing like he hasn't thus far. And defensively, they must welcome this freshman quarterback to what the #1 team in the country looks like defensively, and that's Delonte Williams.
Delonte Williams, the freshman quarterback for Morgan State. The head coach for Morgan State is Donald Hill-Ely. He's in his 10th season. A record of 42-48 with the Bears, the third winningest coach in school history. Jay, what's your lesson plan for Morgan State?
Well, offensively, number 39 must carry a heavy load, means lots of rushes. Who's number 39, Anish?
That would be David Brown.
He's averaging 6 yards per carry. He needs to get half of that per carry tonight. And defensively, they must either win or be equal to the South Carolina State Bulldog defense in the battle for turnovers. South Carolina State leads the MEAC in turnovers. Morgan State is second.
Blake Erickson kicks off for South Carolina. Tyrone Hendricks fields inside his own 10. And Hendricks, a burst of speed out across the 30-yard line, close to the 35. And Morgan State will begin on offense. And Jay, you mentioned him. Delonte Williams, the freshman quarterback, will lead this team out of Washington, D.C. He became a starter in the second half of that Bethune-Cookman game, which was a loss for Morgan State, but they were getting no quarterback play, really getting nothing from that position. He's given them a little bit of a spark.
He has, and he's got that charisma that they like it. They think his upside is tremendous, but now he's going to get a real test here tonight. You know, he played against Bethune-Cookman only for the half. Now he's taking on the best defense in the country as a freshman.
It's Brian Mann on first down, and he gets to about the 35, a gain of a yard. Let's meet the offense. His go-to guy, Winfred Diggs. Delonte Williams and Diggs actually went to high school together. And meanwhile, that offensive line for the Bears, they got a couple of good tackles in Ronnie Wilson, number 71, and Lawrence Brewer, a senior captain, number 78. The freshman getting the play from the sideline. He'll throw on second down, slings it out, and the ball is caught. It's going to be a short gain there by the running back, make that Derek Sherman the wideout. The South Carolina State defense, number 1 in the nation. Ronell Ferguson, big nose guard, anchors that defensive line. Their linebackers might be the best in the entire FCS, and David Irby, as Jay told you before the broadcast, he's the dog, he's the rover, he'll move around. And then that secondary, number 1 in the nation in pass defense, 14 interceptions for the South Carolina State D. And right now, Morgan State facing a 3rd down and 4. Williams under pressure, throws, and it's behind his intended receiver. A win for Diggs, 4th down coming up.
You know, we talk about them having a great defense. Take a look at David Irby coming in from the left side of your screen. Gets around the cut block, 2 jerseys around the quarterback, trying to drop back and pass. That's not the way you want your freshman quarterback to gain confidence, getting hit on incomplete passes by 2 defenders.
What'd you say was in the lesson plan? The South Carolina State D introducing Mr. Williams to the MEAC?
Yeah, you played some decent defenses, but now you're going to play the creme de la creme, as they like to call it, in terms of FCS football with this Bulldog defense.
Nicholas Adams to punt. Josh McFadden waiting for it back at his own 20. Fields at the 22. McFadden out across the 30-yard line and scampers out of bounds at around the 37-yard line. 38-yard punt, 16-yard return. And we get to see South Carolina State on offense for the first time this evening. And the Bulldogs led by big number 7, Malcolm Long, 6'3", 260-pound senior. They say the kid's got an NFL arm and a lightning-quick release.
He's got a quick release, and he's been battle tested. He's been the starter for South Carolina State for the past 3 seasons. And although we talk about it's time for Malcolm Long to play Malcolm Long style football, his previous 2 contests, he's played his best football of the season.
MEAC preseason offensive player of the year. Long to throw on first down. Has time, slings it out to Richard Christie, and he gets close to midfield. Solid pickup on first down. The running back for this South Carolina State offense is Chris Merrill, number 34. Chris Massey actually out for the season, number 26. Meanwhile, that offensive line, Johnny Culbreth, boy, he's a beast. He's a guy that scouts see, and they say he's got NFL potential. Last game good for a first down, and this time they'll keep it on the ground. It's Merrill, and he's met for a 2-yard loss in the backfield. As for this Morgan State defense, Zary Stewart, a Syracuse transfer on that defensive line, transferred from Central New York after the 2008 season. The middle linebacker, Dominic Bryan, a true freshman. He was actually recruited by West Virginia, and they've got a pretty good secondary, too. Another Syracuse transfer, actually, in Nico Scott, and Rashad Miller has 4 interceptions back there. On the ground again, this time it's Devin Weary. He gets into the second level and down inside the 35-yard line before he's finally met by Janari Gray. There is a flag on the play, though, back at the 49-yard line. Shannon Easton is the head official.
Offense, number 58, 10 yards from the previous spot, replay, second down.
Let's go down to Charlie for more on today's referee, Shannon Easton. Charlie?
Well, Shannon Easton is in her third year in the MEAC. She's the only female crew chief in the nation in college football. And MEAC has been the most innovative conference in the nation when it comes to female football officials. In fact, the first female official at a major college game was Anise Kennedy. She was hired by the MEAC in 2002. And the conference currently has 4 female on-field officials.
All right, thank you, Charlie. Malcolm Long, screen pass to Tyler McDonald, and he's tripped up at about the 44-yard line. They got 8 back on that play, and it'll bring up 3rd down.
See, a little play like that is a sign of a good, well-coached offense. I mean, so often we see teams try and gain back all 20 yards on one play. You've got 2 downs to get it, so good play selection there. Give a wide receiver screen there to pick up some positive yardage, just to lessen the amount of yardage needed on 3rd down.
Long to throw again, and that one is too low. Intended receiver Trey Williams, and a pretty good hold there by the Morgan State defense.
With the assist from the penalty by the South Carolina State offense, but that's when you're at home, what you want to do is not get down early. So give credit to Coach Hill's squad and defensive coordinator Herbert Parham for figuring out a way to rattle the Bulldogs and to give his offense a chance to try and gain some type of offensive rhythm early in this contest.
Blake Erickson to kick. He handles both the punting and the kicking duties for South Carolina State. Winfred Diggs back deep for Morgan State. Diggs signals for a fair catch, makes it at the 20-yard line. 2 teams trade punts here on Veterans Day. We're scoreless early in the first quarter in Baltimore. Scoreless first quarter here in Baltimore, and we take time to remind you that ESPNU's coverage of college football continues Saturday. A pair of Big East games. Action begins at noon. South Florida taking on Bilal Powell and the Louisville Cardinals. Hopefully Powell is back for the Cards. Missed last week's win against Syracuse, and the Orange going to New Jersey to take on the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers in the All-State Game of the Week. College football on ESPNU and ESPNU HD this Saturday. Morgan State punted first time around with the ball again, and Delonte Williams throws downfield. He's got Winfred Diggs, and Diggs gets all the way down inside the 40-yard line and into Bulldog territory. A gain of 44 yards on the play.
This is a good job, and it's all made because they fell for the play action. Everybody's over there. He's got time to get to his 2nd level throw. You see the tight end right there in front of him. With an extra second of time, he had the ability to look up Diggs on that 15-yard crossing route and hit him in stride.
You saw Diggs getting past the safety, Dominique Ellis. And how about the freshman selling play action?
A good job. And the offensive line, everybody flowed that way. You got to do things like that against an aggressive defense that likes to use their speed to get to the hole quickly.
Williams to throw again with a screen pass. He's got man, and man runs into a roadblock. A lot of white jerseys that met him, and that's a loss of a yard on a play. Marshall McFadden the first to hit him.
Yeah, Marshall McFadden's a guy you're not going to fool too often. He's been in the South Carolina State program for 6 years.
Van Wilder.
He's a graduate student there, great football player. You know they use the term a man amongst boys.
He's 24 years old.
He's a man playing with boys at times. So he's got the 24-year-old linebacker going against the 19-year-old freshman. He's going to win more battles than he's going to lose.
It'll be 2nd and 11 after that play. 4 wide receivers set. High snap. Williams throws. Completed. That's Chuka Okakpu. Julius Wilkerson met him after a gain of 4 yards, and another flag on the play. This one against the offense. They got the senior Ronnie Wilson.
Yeah, take a look at Ronnie Wilson here on the right side of your screen, number 71. He falls for his feet got out of position on that inside move put on him there by Pat Washington. Did a good job, and once that happened, that was a holding. Easy for the official to see.
So now 2nd and 11 becomes 2nd and 21. The ball backed up on the 46-yard line of South Carolina State. Throw again. Williams had a receiver open. He'll run it, though. Made a couple of guys miss, and he gets down to about the 40-yard line, a gain of 7 yards on the play. David Irby on the stop.
That was one there when Williams dropped back to pass. He had a wide receiver sitting open in the flat, but didn't want to make the long throw across the field. Decided to show his mobility and pick up positive yardage. Good-looking run there by the freshman quarterback. And that's a dimension that he brings to the table. They didn't have in Donovan Dickerson, who was a starting quarterback to begin the season. And that, along with the decision-making that Dickerson was making, the choices he was making, Dickerson had 1 touchdown to go along with 8 interceptions. Anytime you have those type of numbers, it's time to look for a change. On 3rd and 14, Williams going to go to the air again. Scrambling, throws, and in the direction of nobody. Chris Flowers, the closest Morgan State receiver, and he was a good 10 yards from the football. You know, one thing we like about Delonte Williams is his poise in the pocket, but, you know, he's getting hit hard by that Bulldog defense. That time there, even though it was an incomplete pass, Donovan Richard, who comes in and plays that linebacker position in passing situations, had a blitz up the middle, and he just leveled Williams.
So 4th down coming up. Nicholas Adams coming on for the 2nd time to punt it away. Richard Christie back deep for South Carolina State. He's back at his own 10-yard line. Low snap. Adams gets it off, and Christie signals for a fair catch. He'll let it bounce. And Morgan State just couldn't get to the football. They had a chance to pin South Carolina State deep. Instead, the Bulldogs will start at their own 20-yard line. Still no score with 8:54 to go here in the first quarter.
ESPNU College Football Primetime is presented by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And in part by the Capital One Cup. To learn more, go to CapitalOneCup.com. No score here with 8:54 remaining in the first quarter in Baltimore, South Carolina State and Morgan State. You know, the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference has 11 players, former players, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. South Carolina State has 3, and it all started with Marion Motley. Marion Motley was the young man who came into the pro football, and broke the color barrier a year before Jackie Robinson did it in baseball. Played 9 years and inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1968. Deacon Jones, drafted by the Rams in 61. 7 Pro Bowls, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 80. And Harry Carson, drafted by the Giants in 1976 and played 9 Pro Bowls and 1 Super Bowl, inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2006. Anish?
All right, thank you, Charlie. Yeah, certainly Harry Carson. And the Giant fans can certainly remember with fond memories. Incomplete pass on 1st down. Let's go back down to Charlie for more. Charlie?
Well, you know, South Carolina State is located in Orangeburg, South Carolina, founded in 1896, and is the only state-funded historically black land-grant institution in the state. It has a student enrollment of over 4,000 students, and former coach Willie Jeffries will be inducted into the Black College Football Hall of Fame in February.
A run here on 2nd down. That's Ashton Jordan. And he gets 3. It'll bring up 3rd and 7.
Now, Charlie, I heard you mention that list of Hall of Famers.
Yes.
Now, many people feel there's a name missing off that list from South Carolina State alum who should be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Who am I talking about?
We're talking about Donnie Shell, no question about it.
What's it going to take for Donnie Shell to get into the Hall?
Well, people just have to realize and do the right thing. I mean, it's like the Pete Rose deal, you know?
Along the throw here on 3rd down. He throws and he completes, and then the ball comes loose. Linnell Elmore couldn't hang on. Joe Rankin with the big hit, the freshman out of Germantown, Maryland.
Yeah, this is what you call dislodging the wide receiver from the ball. Great throw, thrown right on stride, but the moment he tried to come down, Rankin put a good lick on him. Dislodge, like that term, dislodge.
Dislodge, and you know, Rankin is a guy that the defensive coordinator said was the best athlete Morgan State had on defense. He was originally going to go to Louisville, just didn't have the grades.
Well, I'm sure Charlie Strong is regretting not having him.
Winfred Diggs fields the punt, and he gets tackled immediately after a 46-yard kick by Blake Erickson. So we get another look at Morgan State's freshman quarterback, Delonte Williams. And when they made the switch from Williams and bench Donovan Dickerson, immediate dividends for Morgan State. I mean, they're 4-5, 500 in conference, but when you look at what Williams has done compared to what Dickerson, I mean, it doesn't compare. they started to move the football. They started to score points. You look at the team's points per game, and, you know, Williams' completion percentage or TD to interception ratio, not great, but, again, better than his predecessor. Go to the ground here on first down, and that's a run right up the middle, and nothing but white shirts there.
You know, and to finish that point you were saying about the quarterback, you know, I've been on both sides of that equation. You know, when you're the starting quarterback, you get too much credit sometimes, and when things aren't going well, you get too much blame. And, you know, the most popular guy on any football team is the backup quarterback. So,
right.
You know, you've got backup quarterbacks that are killing the scout team in practice, and then everybody has this new little car that they want to take on the highway. And give credit to Williams. When he got his opportunity to play, he's played well, and the offense had that spark. And many times it's more of an emotional lift than it is physical lift.
Williams 4 wide. Here's the blitz. He throws, completes. But Chuka Okakpu could not get far. Tackled by David Irby at the 35. A gain of 4 yards on the play. And we're seeing a South Carolina State pass defense that's ranked #1 in the nation for a reason.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job. And, you know, the key to good defenses is they don't mind if you catch the ball in front of them. But if they're sound defensively and have good technique, they make the tackle. So they eliminate those yards after catching. You know, we talked about it earlier. South Carolina State has only allowed 12 first downs per game for the season. That's a phenomenal football team.
On the season, I mean, it's mind-boggling. That's a little over 1 per game, right?
Well, they're giving up 12 per game. So you get,
all right, 12 per game.
You don't get many chances.
And that one nearly picked off by Dominique Ellis. Williams took a shot downfield, and boy, every time they throw it, it seems you see nothing but white jerseys.
Yeah, they're just surrounded, and, you know, just sound fundamental zone defense, trying to squeeze the ball in a little hole. But you've got 3 white jerseys back there. Very fortunate Dominique Ellis didn't come down with that one. He's supposed to make that interception right there. But
game plan early for South Carolina State seems to be, let's see if the freshman can beat us.
Yep, and that's what they're doing. If he's good enough to do it and they get a big play, then they'll make some adjustments. But right now, they're not coming with the blitz package, playing zone coverage, just playing sound fundamental defense.
Nicholas Adams on to punt for the 3rd time. Richard Christie waiting at his 26-yard line. And this is a short punt. It bounces at the 40-yard line and then bounces right out of bounds. South Carolina State will have the football near its own 40 when we come back.
Still no score between South Carolina State and Morgan State. And earlier we talked about the fact that the South Carolina State team had 3 former players that are in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Well, Morgan State has 4 former players in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And it all began with Roosevelt Brown, who was drafted by the New York Giants back in 1953. He was inducted into the Hall in '75. Lynn Ford played offensive and defensive end during his pro career and inducted into the Hall in 1976. Willie Lanier played 11 years as a middle linebacker with Kansas City, becoming the first Afro-American to start at that position. He went into the Hall of Fame in 1986. Then Leroy Kelly, drafted by the Browns in 1964, named to 6 Pro Bowls during his career and inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1994. Anish?
All right, thank you, Charlie. We'll check back with you in just a bit. Here on first down, long, throwing long, and he completes. No, it's dropped. Caleb Davis had it in his hands, couldn't hold on.
Wow, this was a big-time throw here. We talk about Malcolm Long's numbers on the season aren't too impressive. Well, the freshman wide receiver, Caleb Davis, you have to come down with this catch. This ball was thrown in stride. All you do is make the catch and go to the ground right in the hands. Turn around. That's a great throw by Malcolm Long. Caleb Davis, you have to come down with that football, young man.
Long this time will line up under center. And will keep it on the ground. This is Ashton Jordan. And he gets 4 yards on the play. Let's go back to Charlie.
Well, Morgan State was founded in 1867 and each has the Centenary Biblical Institute. Its original mission was to train young men in ministry. It eventually broadened its mission to educate both men and women as teachers. It was renamed Morgan College in 1890 and remained a private institution until 1939. There's Earl Banks, the former coach, inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame.
On 3rd down, Tyler McDonald picks up a first down for South Carolina State, and he gets inside the 35-yard line, a 24-yard gain. South Carolina State's biggest offensive play of the evening.
All right, now, I got to ask this because I know Charlie just knows this one. So 4 guys from Morgan State in the NFL Hall of Fame. You gave us 3 earlier from South Carolina State. How many total for the MEAC Conference?
11.
How many for the SWAC conference?
11.
Oh, man.
You cannot get anything by Charlie. Ashton Jordan on first down, and he's gobbled up almost immediately. Got about 2, maybe 3 on the play. Second down coming up.
Now watch this. Now, Charlie, let me throw you for a loop. So you're saying each conference has 11, correct?
Yes.
Morgan and MEAC. Now, what school are you giving Deacon Jones credit for going to? Is he a MEAC or a SWAC guy?
Well, see, I'm not sure if that Mississippi Vocational School was a SWAC school.
Okay.
It's not Mississippi Valley.
So,
Okay.
so is he in there as under what school is he listed in NFL Hall of Fame?
But he actually did go in his boat. So we split that number 11.
Rush by Ashton Jordan.
7 yards for Ashton Jordan, and South Carolina State has itself another first down. You're not going to get anything by Charlie. You could play quiz bowl with him all day. You won't get him.
Well, you know, I'm doing this for you, Anish. You got to catch up. See, we know these facts. Did you know that Deacon Jones is so good he's in for 2 schools?
I know Deacon Jones is a pretty good football player.
2 schools they listed. That's phenomenal. I don't know how many other players you have with that.
Long to throw here on first down under pressure. Just heaves one up in the air. The ball is juggled. There's a flag on the play.
That's the senior expertise there by Malcolm Long. He realized that there was no harm in him throwing that ball there, giving his wide receiver a chance to make a play. And, you know, one thing will happen. Either be an incomplete pass or you might get a pass interference call. And you'll see right there that contact was made, and that becomes a defensive back got there a little bit too soon.
Defense, number 6. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
That's Janari Gray, the sophomore out of Miami, Florida, covering the tight end, Antoine Carr.
Yeah, they've been talking about Carr, and he's been coming on with his play. They lost their starting tight end, Dwayne Clark, for the season, but they don't think it was a major loss because of the progression of Antoine Carr throughout the season.
First and goal for South Carolina State. First time either team's been in the red zone. Devin Weary inside the 5-yard line. And finally the whistle blows. Richard and Dubuazy was the first to meet him after a gain of 4 yards, and now some pushing and shoving at the end of the play.
This is that time where physical football teams like to show their strength, and if you're South Carolina State, you got to start thinking they're going to run the ball behind big number 50 in white, Johnny Colbert, their All-American left tackle. Talk about a guy that's got NFL size, 6'6", 310 pounds. Look for them to try and pound the ball to the left side here, see if they get into the end zone.
High formation, Weary and Jordan the deep back. Longo is going to throw, and he's going to go to Weary, and Weary is met immediately. Rashad Miller, number 32, came up and prevented a touchdown.
Yeah, they're playing some Bulldog defense. Let them catch the ball in front of you and come up and bam, make the hit. And Weary very fortunate to hold on to that football. Good play by Rashad Miller. Not only does he lead this team in interceptions with 4 on the season, but showing he can lay some wood too.
SC State number 1 in the MEAC in red zone efficiency. They score on 89% of their trips. This is Jordan to the outside, and he's pushed out of bounds. So they'll have to settle for a field goal attempt. 4th down coming up, and they'll bring on Blake Erickson, South Carolina State's all-time leader in career field goals made. He's 14 of 16 on the season, 10 of 11 from inside 40 yards. He's about as close to automatic as they come, and this is a chip shot for him, a 20-yard field goal attempt. Erickson's kick is true, and South Carolina State and Buddy Pugh on the board first, 3-0, courtesy of the kicker.
By Blake Erickson is good.
We remind you that ESPNU's coverage of college football continues Saturday. Ryan Mallett and Arkansas playing host to the University of Texas, El Paso. College football primetime presented by 5 Hour Energy on ESPNU Saturday at 7 Eastern.
Mallett's starting to heat up, isn't he?
Mallett's starting to heat up. He's starting to get healthy. You know, had that concussion and then hurt his shoulder, but they had a big road win last week against South Carolina.
Yeah, huge road win there. Did a good job there. That's why I think, his stock is rising. I think if you look at the quarterback position, I mean, there's one guy I think that solidified himself as #1 pick. Andrew Luck, Stanford. But then it was Jake Locker's spot. Now I think that Ryan Mallett is slowly starting to creep up there. And right now, if you ask me, I think he's the second quarterback taken in the NFL draft.
How about the way Jake Locker's stock has dropped this season? Boy,
seen it happen before. I mean, it's funny how history repeats itself. I mean, a season ago, we were talking about Jevin Sneed, #1 overall pick, first round. Everybody loved him. I mean, Sneed didn't even get drafted. Now, I don't wish that on Jake Locker, but some of his performances at times have had to question who had him ranked so high.
Harrington to kick off. Chris Flowers fields. He's across the 30-yard line where he's tripped up. And Morgan State will start at their own 32 after a 19-yard kick return. Delonte Williams, the freshman quarterback, has led the Bears on 3 drives so far. They've all ended in punts. But Jay, so far, what are you seeing from the young kid going up against this vaunted D? Poise. You already see poise.
Poise. Numbers aren't fantastic, but he hasn't seemed rattled at all. I mean, made one poor decision with the throw, but also has made some great decisions with the football early in the contest. He doesn't seem to be scared of the fact, or maybe he's just too naive to know he's going against the #1 defense in the country.
Sometimes you just don't know any better.
Sometimes you don't know any better.
Williams throws, slings it out. That's caught by Okakpu, and again, very little. They're completing passes, but besides that one play to Diggs, really not getting into the second level.
Yeah, that's what South Carolina State wants you to do. First down, they play a little bit soft on you. Their #1 goal is to just eliminate the run. That's what they try to do. Then second and third down, they like to really wear you down. Third down is money down, and that's when guys like David Irby start to line up in different positions from where you're used to. I mean, look, that's just phenomenal defense right there.
They run out of superlatives for this Bulldog defense. 2nd and 5. On the ground, this is David Brown, and sometimes it seems they're running into almost one of those Spartan phalanxes. Remember, in ancient Greece, they used to have those formations. One guy goes down, the next guy steps up. You can't penetrate it.
Yeah, and that's a tough one. I mean, you almost have to celebrate the fact if you get 1 first down. I mean, because they're that tough. And just to put in perspective what I mean about the fact they only give up 12 first downs per game, on a typical scoring drive, it takes you 5 or 6 first downs just to get a touchdown. So you wonder why it all adds up, and that's why this Bulldog defense only gives up 14 points a game, because they only give up 12 first downs a game.
Under center this time on 3rd down. Out of the eye, and this is Brown. And he's going to be stopped short of the first down. In fact, he barely got back to the line of scrimmage.
Now, keep in mind, on first down, they picked up 7 yards. Then second and third down, which are those money downs, those conversion downs, the Bulldog defense tightened. And they showed that bite and got physical and just stonewalled the Bears.
We said this at the top of the broadcast. South Carolina State, #1 in the nation against the pass. Oh, okay, so we can run the ball on them. #2 in the nation against the run.
For the Morgan State Bears,
4th punt for Nicholas Adams. And Richard Christie retreats back to the 15 to field this one. Now he gets across the 20. He's got a block upfield. Christie across midfield and finally tackled by the punter Adams.
Oh, man, he was supposed to take that to the house. I don't know if you can draw up a prettier wall than they set up there. He's going to catch the ball on the far left side. This is return right all the way. Now look at all the white jerseys on the left side looking for an orange body to block, and they've got it set up. He's there. You got time. Get away from the sideline. Throw a shake on this guy. Oh, I can do a better move than that. But what a great job on return team. Ball's kicked to the left side. Good job by Christie just to get it over to the right side where his blockers were intact.
South Carolina State starts from the Morgan State 48-yard line.
They're bringing pressure with the blitz.
Long gets rid of it. He's got a man. That's Tyler McDonald, and you can say goodbye. Touchdown, Bulldogs.
People wonder why in college football you see so many of these wide receiver screens, little extended handoffs to the left and the right side, because normally if you get man-to-man coverage, it's a great call. You can find a crease. Nobody in the middle of the field.
You said it, Jay. They brought the blitz, and the one thing Malcolm Long has is a quick release. He got rid of it.
And that's what you have to do, and it's a good job downfield blocking. And good teams exploiting the aggressive defensive play selection by the Morgan State Bear defense.
Erickson on for the point after, and it's good. 10-0 South Carolina State. A 47-yard touchdown pass from Malcolm Long to the freshman Tyler McDonald.
I mean, you're going to see the pressure there, and everybody's looking for it, but they just go out there. Good job of blocking by the offensive lineman. And once he gets there, it just becomes a foot race. So that's where you give credit to the offensive coordinator for the play selection, doing a good job.
Almost like they anticipated the blitz.
I mean, that's what you want to do. And what kind of tipped me to it, there was nobody deeper than 8 yards from the line of scrimmage. So when you've got guys that are playing that shallow, that means they're trying to crowd the line of scrimmage to get to their man-to-man coverage that they have. And the thing about man-to-man coverage is, as a receiver or a running back, you think man-to-man coverage. If I make one guy miss, there's nobody back there that can tackle me.
I thought when we met with the Morgan State coaches yesterday, I thought one thing they said is you can't just come after Malcolm Long and blitz him. He's got such a quick release that when you blitz him, you got to be careful. And they've got some receivers that can make plays in the open as well.
And that's what they were missing early on in the year. I mean, they lost, two fantastic
They lost their top 3 wide
year.
receivers.
Yeah, so some really good ones. But the fact is, and that's why Long's numbers weren't as good as they looked a season ago. But once you start to play more and more with them, he said now the offensive unit is starting to have some cohesiveness where they're playing together, knowing where everybody is, and that's why Long's production has gone up.
Erickson kicks it off. This is Andre Nelson. Waits for a block, and he's brought down shy of the 30-yard line. 10-0 South Carolina State on top of Morgan State. 7 seconds left here in the first quarter. With Jay Walker, I'm Manish Shroff. We're in Baltimore, Maryland. Jay's backyard.
In the great state of Maryland.
Wasn't a long flight for you, was it? Wasn't a long drive for you.
A little 295 action.
This will likely be the last play of the first quarter. It's a run. This is David Brown, and he tried to get to the outside, but he's stopped by Dominique Ellis after a gain of 1 yard. And that takes us to the end of the first quarter. 10-0 South Carolina State, the big play, a 47-yard touchdown catch by the freshman Tyler McDonald. Welcome back to U Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland for ESPNU College Football Primetime presented by McDonald's. 10-0 South Carolina State on top of Morgan State. We're about to start the second quarter here in Baltimore. Second down for Delonte Williams. He throws, and it's incomplete. It'll bring up third down. David Irby, again, pressuring the quarterback, but we do have a flag on the play now.
Yeah, and I think this may be roughing the passer on David Irby. We can tell they've established right away that the young quarterback was going to get hit this game, and maybe a little bit too aggressive there by the Bulldogs.
Personal foul, roughing the passer on the defense, number 53, 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down.
See, they bring the pressure, they run a stunt, and that's number 53 coming around there to put the lick on him, but I think that was Irby. That got there with good pressure. That's what you want to do. You asked me what I liked earlier about Delonte Williams, the fact that he had the poise in the pocket, but what do you do to rattle that poise? Get a little pressure, shrink the pocket. Don't give him too much room to breathe. They can think about getting hit.
Donovan Richards in the game for South Carolina State. He's a linebacker they really like, and there's Richard in the backfield making the tackle. A loss of 5 yards on the play, and Richard, number 40 from Georgetown, South Carolina. The defensive coordinator, Mike Adams, says he's been a great surprise for him this year.
Yeah, you see him shoot the gap. I mean, they ran the stretch play there, and Donovan Richard actually beat the running back to the hole before he got there. So you got good credit you have to give credit to the guys up front, and Rondell Ferguson and Pat Washington tying up the offensive line, allowing Donovan Richard to run free and make the tackle for loss.
And for Richard, add one more TFL, so now 10 tackles for losses on the season. It's 3rd and long, make it 2nd and long for Morgan State. There's the pressure. Morgan State picks up the blitz, but Williams overshot his intended receiver, Derek Sherman.
And that's one of those reaction type of throws there. The blitz was coming, they were bringing the pressure, but it was completely picked up. It was a zone blitz, so they're starting to confuse Delonte Williams there, thinking that he doesn't have as much time as he has. He rushed that throw when he had time to make an accurate throw for the incomplete pass.
Jay, what are some of the big, I guess, adjustments and the progressions that a young quarterback has to make, has to pick up in order to evolve and get better?
Protection. You know, I think young quarterbacks become great quarterbacks when they're not afraid of the blitz anymore, when they look forward to teams blitzing.
There's the pressure again. Williams gets rid of it, but that one at the feet of Tyrone Hendricks. Another flag on the play, and this one could be on Donovan Richard.
That's something that you don't expect from a Buddy Pugh coach team there, the consecutive roughing the passer calls.
Correction, personal foul, roughing the passer on the defense, number 40, 15 yards from the previous spot, automatic first down.
Well, he interfered. She had it right. He interfered with the pass, all right. But take a look here. You'll see him get rid of this ball there, but that extra step, they're going to get you every time.
And that's 2 roughing the passer penalties on this drive, and really South Carolina State with penalties just giving this Morgan State offense new life.
Giving them first downs because the Bears haven't been able to get them on their own, but the yellow flag has helped them achieve 2 first downs.
Williams, play action on first down. He's got time. He throws. He's got an open receiver. And that's going to be good enough for a first down win for Diggs. And Diggs has been the only guy out of that receiving core making plays downfield for Morgan State.
Yeah, now this has been where they've had some success. An overly aggressive defense, give them some misdirection. Sell out with their hard run to the left, get him outside the pocket. That's twice they've called the bootleg, and twice the quarterback has had time to make all of his reads in the coverage and find the open wide receiver.
Diggs, 2 catches, 59 yards so far, and the Bears inside the 30. Williams throws far side, and that ball complete. David Irby on the stop after a 5-yard gain from Chuka Okakpu, 6'4" freshman receiver out of Roswell, Georgia.
And the good thing will be if they can continue to complete passes on first down, then that'll soften up the running game. I think when you're going against an aggressive Bulldog defense that's committed to stopping the run on first down, then you need to throw for it. We've seen Morgan State come out and pick up 5+ yards on first downs with short passes. That's how you soften them up. Then you can find a crease to run the football in.
Mike Adams, the uber-intense defensive coordinator for South Carolina State, he said, first thing the defense has to do is eliminate the run while they're making Williams beat them through the air. On second down, Williams pump fakes, hit as he throws, and it's caught downfield by Okakpu, and he's inside the 5-yard line, 1st and goal. Morgan State, a 23-yard gain on the play.
Great job by Okakpu on the readjustment here. Double move here, a little slant go. Then the quarterback gets hit as he releases it, but look at Chuka Okakpu make a good adjustment for the ball in midair. And once again, getting hit, but I'll tell you something, these quarterbacks don't mind getting hit when you got long completions down the field like Williams did on that one.
Doesn't hurt as much after, doesn't it?
Yeah, you don't feel the sting. And then you can get up, talk a little trash, and tell them, hey, that's all you got? That's all you got?
1st and goal, Morgan State. Big number 67, Joshua Durden, lined up in the backfield. Coaches said they wanted to try to get him a touchdown in these goal line situations, a la Refrigerator Perry. And now a whistle as a flag comes in from the far side.
Before the snap, ball start. Offense, number 44, 5 yards, still first down.
That's the tight end, Jeff T. Sharonfont.
And those are those little things that you can't really afford to do against a defense. I mean, you're going to give this defense another chance to stop you from getting a first down almost when you get the ball 1st and goal on the 7-yard line. 1st and goal on the 2 against a good team, you got to punch it in there. Don't have a mental error by jumping off sides.
David Brown, the lone setback, I should say. He's the deep back in the eye. And once again, big number 67, Joshua Durden, playing the role of the fullback. He's normally the right guard. Here's Brown on 1st and goal, right up the gut and into the end zone. Touchdown, Morgan State. It's the sophomore from Baltimore, Maryland. A 7-yard TD run, and the Bears are on the board.
Well, they just decided they were going to play power football, and you see your big lineman in the backfield. He put a wallop on Latarius Douglas playing linebacker, and after that, it was all David Brown getting into the end zone.
You saw David Irby trying to drag him down, but Brown just kept on churning and gets 6. Kamar Scarlett on for the point after. His kick is good, and hey, we got a game. It's 10-7 on a 7-yard touchdown run from David Brown. Morgan State gets on the board with 11:44 to go in the second quarter. Welcome back to Baltimore. Morgan State on the board. It's 10-7 now. Bears trailing just by 3. That's Joshua Durden. He's the right guard, but he made a key block on that last touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the fact how they like to move him into the backfield and let him just pummel some people, and that's what happens. You get a good offensive lineman in the backfield, body on a body, puts a collision. If he keeps blocking like that, he might get that touchdown carry he's been begging for.
So Kamar Scarlett on to kick it off for Morgan State after the Bears got their first touchdown against this vaunted South Carolina State defense. 10-7 here with 11:44 to go in the second quarter. It's Josh McFadden making Richard Christie, who gets out close to the 45-yard line. And let's go back to that last touchdown.
Well, we talked about Joshua Durden in the backfield. He's lined up. He's normally your right guard, but they lined him up in the backfield of fullback, taking on number 29, Latarius Douglas, who only weighs 200 pounds. You got 300 pounds going against 200 pounds. Got my money on 300-pounders.
Joshua Durden, big kid, 6'1", 300, and Morgan State on the board.
That's a lineman's dream. You know, normally when they're down in the three-point stance on the line of scrimmage, they don't get to hit defensive backs or linebackers too often. They got to go against 300-pound men. They get a chance to see a smaller guy. I mean, they don't just try to make contact. They try to wipe him out.
They got a DB on him. It's like a nickel bouncing off a brick wall. On first down, this is Ashton Jordan, and he is devoured in the backfield. They'll bring up second down. Jordan transferred out of the Citadel. We had a chance to talk to him for a few minutes after practice yesterday. Said he came to South Carolina State, wanted more of a relaxed atmosphere. Citadel, of course, a military school, and Jordan was a guy who did well in his playing time out at the Citadel and was supposed to be one of the guys in the mix to replace Will Ford this season, but he's had some injuries as well. Empty backfield here on second down. Long under pressure, throws, completes, Trey Williams, and he's got himself a first down. Down to the 37-yard line of Morgan State, 21 yards on the play.
Well, we talked about the size of Malcolm Long. Well, if you're a big quarterback, play like a big man. Step up. You can't arm tackle 260 pounds. Still has the strength to deliver a strike, and after that, it's Trey Williams getting down, splitting two linebackers for the big game.
How about that pocket presence, little mobility there for the big fella?
Big step up. You call a little mobility. I say, hey, if you're a big man, don't get down with an arm tackle. And he just stepped right through that arm tackle.
Long throws downfield, wide open, Trey Williams, and he's into the end zone. A touchdown, a 37-yard pass from Long to Williams, and South Carolina State strikes back.
Quickly, very quickly. I mean, that's the rebound. You know, when a team scores on your defense and they think they have hope, well, the offense says, well, it's time for us to pick up the defense, and this is just a blown coverage there. Looking in the backfield, you see Nico Scott, who you talked about, the transfer from Syracuse, getting beat there, looking in the backfield. Easy touchdown throw and catch by the Bulldogs.
Extra point is good by Blake Erickson. Good drive for Trey Williams, number 12, a 21-yard catch, and then a 37-yard touchdown reception. Bulldogs up 10 here in Baltimore.
7 to score here in Baltimore, Maryland. Let's take a look at the road ahead, brought to you by Lexus. Of course, Bethune-Cookman has all but wrapped up its first MEAC championship since 2002. All they have to do on Saturday is beat Howard University down in Daytona Beach. The 10th-ranked Wildcats, the only unbeaten team in the FCS. The CIAA championship takes place Saturday in Durham, North Carolina. Virginia State taking on Shaw. Shaw looking for their first title since the championship game resumed in 2000. The Bears went unbeaten in the conference for the first time since the school reinstated the football program in 2003. And in the SWAC, in the Eastern Division, Alcorn controlling its own destination. The Braves must beat the defending champs Prairie View on Saturday and Jackson State next week to make it to the title game. Anish?
All right, stop the press. I'm going to say it now. Charlie, you know this. You don't hear this from me often.
Okay.
The Bison are going to play Bethune-Cookman extremely tough.
Okay, are they going to win?
They're going to play them extremely tough.
I hear you.
It's one of those ones where, you know, are they going to go in there and win? No, but everybody's thinking, and Anish Schroff included, that Howard is going to go down there and get beat by 40-plus points. I'm telling you, the Bison are going to give the Wildcats a good football game down there in Daytona.
Well, you know, it's ironic you say that because they are primed to be upset. And, you know, you cannot overlook a Howard University team. That's probably the most dangerous team they'll play all year, and look ahead to the Florida Classic when they play Florida A&M the following week.
Exactly, and dangerous because they're looking ahead. You're looking at the record, and you're saying Howard's only won one football game all year, and we're scoring all these points. But one thing Howard does, they play some good defense. I mean, they've got some Keith Pugh and those guys.
Can I be the voice of reason just for a minute here?
Sure.
Go ahead, Anish. I want to hear you.
Howard has lost 25 straight conference games. Bethune is undefeated and the highest scoring team in the conference. How many games this season has Howard been competitive in, Jeff?
They always
paused. You paused.
They always play Hampton tough at the beginning of the year. Then there's always a little letdown. But I'm just saying, for this game, now I go around the country and people ask me about Howard all the time, and I use my academic institution line. But they're going to play tough this week. I'm telling you. I just see it coming. I mean, Charlie told you they're looking at Florida A&M. They've got FAMU 2 weeks from now, and the coach is going to try and keep them focused. But if Howard does nothing else, they can hit you. And if they don't turn the ball over, then you may be able to score some points and let your defense keep in the football game.
Charlie, you've been around the MEAC for a long time. If Howard does the unthinkable, would that be the greatest upset in the history of the conference?
It's going to rank right there near the top, especially when you look at a record of a team that's unbeaten. The only team in the football championship subdivision that's unbeaten, coming in ranked number 10 this week. I mean, when you look at the MEAC standings, there you see it. Bethune-Cookman is 6-0.
They didn't even put Howard on there. They didn't even put Howard on there.
Oh, well, Howard's missing.
They're 0-6. 0-6 Howard. Jay, they didn't even put your alma mater on the standings pad.
That's a lack of respect, right?
Normally I would get upset, but I mean, when you haven't won a game in 2 years in conference play, sometimes they just take it for granted. But it's all right. Show them up, Bison. You show them what we're talking about.
Meanwhile, Morgan State putting together a nice little drive here. And they're on a play-action pass. There's a man down on the field. Also a flag coming in at the end of the play. And it looks like Jeff T. Sharonfont, the tight end, signaling that he is okay, but having some trouble getting up. Looked like he signaled that he was okay for a minute, but it looked like he may have been waving the trainers over. Officials talking over the play on the field. Again, a flag came in at the end of that play. Let's listen to Shannon Easton, the head referee.
Personal foul. Targeting on the defense, number 33. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
Christian Thompson delivered that big hit, and Take another look.
Now, that was called targeting. That's a unique call. I haven't heard of the targeting call. I mean, was it helmet-to-helmet contact they're trying to say, or defenseless player there?
I think in that situation, you're looking at a defenseless player, had no chance of catching the football.
8:56 to go here in the second quarter. South Carolina State leading 17-7. We're going to step aside here on ESPNU. Yeah, Jeff T. Sharonfont was able to walk off the field on his own power, number 44 for Morgan State. And Christian Thompson, the Auburn transfer, delivered that hit. And, you know, it's a bit ironic. Defensive coordinator for South Carolina State, Mike Adams, told us that if there's going to be a guy on the field to knock somebody out, it would be Christian Thompson. They call him the Juggernaut. And let's take another look at the hit.
I mean, this is the problem they have in the NFL. How do you have a guy get ready to hit somebody, dislodge a football from him, and then expect him to turn on the brakes?
End result is a first down, and now Delonte Williams throwing, and it looks like it's picked off. Donovan Richard with the interception, his first of the season, and a turnover for Morgan State.
When you take a look at Delonte Williams, he's trying to give the expression that he was throwing that ball away, but if you're going to throw the ball away, you have to find an open spot of the field, preferably on the sideline. This is just a throwaway ball. A little pressure starts to get to him off his back foot, and good job of just undercutting that pass by Donovan Richard.
Seemed a bit nonchalant in the pocket there, didn't he?
He did. I mean, just kind of, you know, he had the notion like he was just trying to force the ball out of his hands, maybe getting wary of those hits he had been taking from the Bulldog defense, and Donovan Richard did a good job of just undercutting that route and making a great catch for the interception.
South Carolina State comes out with 3 wide receivers. This is Chuka Okakpu in motion. He throws it back to Malcolm Long. Long going deep for Trey Williams, and he's nearly intercepted. Broken up by Joe Rankin, and this was a play. We were at practice yesterday morning. They were working on it, where they give it to the receiver coming in motion, throw it back to the quarterback, and then the QB throws it downfield. Just didn't work.
Yeah, you know, the only problem there is he got the skip ball right there, and Rankin did a good job of staying back in his deep third. Zone coverage was not fooled at all, and just stayed with the man entering to his zone. Good recognition by Joe Rankin. A lot of other defenders for Morgan State fell for the fake with the double pass, but he did not.
First catch of the game for Linnell Elmore, but he's wrapped up immediately. Fredo Brady and Joe Rankin with him. Yeah, it was a play they worked out in practice. They were trying to get the kinks ironed out with it, but sometimes a little tougher to execute in game conditions.
I always tease the wide receivers. They act like they can play quarterback, but it's a little hard to throw the football in game conditions when guys are up on you, and you saw there. Davis from South Carolina State wasn't able to deliver the ball to Long.
Long on third down, throws over the middle. He's got Elmore. He's got a first down and more. Elmore across the 45-yard line, and a gain of 28 yards and another first down for the Bulldogs. A healthy Linnell Elmore is a good sight for this South Carolina State offense. He's their leading receiver entering the game.
Look at Long again. They talked about his quick release and that little flick motion. You see how quickly he got rid of that football and the strong arm to throw the ball in stride and accurately. That's why when he's playing good football, that's why he can be such a weapon. He does have a quick release and he does have a strong arm. Doesn't take much for him to get rid of that ball quickly.
Play action here on first down. Long rolling out. Buying time, throws downfield, and Trey Williams couldn't hold on to it. Second down.
Talking about that completed pass before that, Malcolm Long. Look at it. You're looking at it. You think you've got him just one step. Oh, you know, most quarterbacks have to reshuffle their feet and set. He was mid-stride and just had a quick flick of the wrist to complete that ball. Very difficult. I mean, matter of fact, coaches don't even try and teach that. They tell you don't try and throw when you're basically mid-stride. Come down and regroup, but he's got the ability to make adjustments with a flick of the wrist and fling the ball with high velocity.
4 wide on 2nd and 10. It's a run play. Devin Weary, he's got a first down as he takes the ball down close to the 30-yard line. 22 yards on the play. They say Weary's the thumper of the running backs in this backfield, and boy, he just blasted through the hole on that second down play.
Yeah, it's going to start to the left. It all starts with that kickout block by Johnny Colbert, number 50. Just removes his defender from the screen, and after that, Weary had 2 holes in which to choose from.
First down. They go back to the ground and back to Weary. And he gets another nice run, another first down. Finally stopped by Rashad Miller in the secondary. 18 more.
Yeah, when your offensive line is just dominating, look at the holes he has to choose from. Do I want to go right? Do I want to go left? Oh, I'll go right up the middle. Number 73, Jake Johnson, just completely wiping his defender out of the backfield. Followed up by Johnny Colbert. Right now, that left side of the offensive line for South Carolina State is dominating.
Long throws and eaten up immediately is Caleb Davis.
Pass complete to Caleb.
They lost 3 yards on the play. Not sure you want to catch that as a receiver.
Just the wide receiver screen. He gets hit, then ball's coming loose. Look at the focus and the concentration.
Why don't you just drop it there? You don't lose yards.
Well, because if they said it was a catch, and maybe they were saying it would have been a catch and a fumble, don't chance it. But I agree with you. I believe the official probably would have come in and whistled it for forward progress.
2nd and 13 now, and this is dangerous territory for Morgan State. They got to within 10-7. SC State came back and scored. Morgan State was in Bulldog territory, then turned it over. A little screen pass to Ashton Jordan.
Pass complete.
He picks up 6. It'll bring up 3rd down. And right now, if you're Morgan State, I think it's a victory if you can hold them to 3 here.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, because South Carolina State start to show you their will and their might and their strength on the offensive line by getting the running game going. Now they're getting some throws in there. So this is an offense that seems to be clicking on all cylinders. Like the Coach Pugh talked about earlier, we're just now starting to play our best football. I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to run as well as they've been running the ball in this 3rd and 7.
They do run. They go off that left side. Ashton Jordan, and he's into the end zone. Or did he step out of bounds? It looks like. No, he's in.
And once again, talking about Jake Johnson, big number 73, getting this guy with the kick out there. That's not a hole when you're down on your knees. Good power.
Oh, he's in the end zone. They never signaled, actually. No one ever signaled touchdown. And Ashton Jordan battling an ankle sprain. Coach has said he's only about 75-80%, but a touchdown run there, and it's 24-7 now after the Blake Erickson extra point. So 24-7 SC State. Right now we check in with Lowell Galindo in the
Grambling with a 24-17 lead. Anish.
Whoa, 24-17.
Grambling in Southern, yeah. Texas Southern.
These are supposed to be the best defenses in the conference. They're scoring some points down there. See what's at stake there, and I think it's pretty much, you know, many people are assuming whoever wins that game, if Grambling State wins, then they can clinch their berth in the SWAC championship game. Texas Southern would have to win that one, plus a game versus Arkansas Pine Bluff later on during the year. But wow, you got a good one going down in H-Town.
Yeah, those are 2 of the best defenses, not only in the SWAC, but in the nation. I mean, 2 really good defenses and offensive fireworks early.
Well, I will say this. I believe that one of the most physically impressive teams I've seen over the past couple of years has been that Johnny Cole squad down at Texas Southern. I mean, they're one of those teams similar to South Carolina State. When they get off the bus, you know the athleticism is there.
Andre Nelson and Chris Flowers set to return for your Bears.
Blake Erickson to kick off. Chris Flowers, Andre Nelson back deep. This is a squib kick, though. And it's fielded by one of the linemen near the 30-yard line, and he'll just go down. ESPN is the home of college hoops. Friday night, you can catch 2 games at 7 Eastern. ESPN3.com has an exclusive game featuring Syracuse and Northern Iowa. Then at 9 Eastern on ESPNU, 3rd-ranked Kansas State Wildcats taking on James Madison. College basketball on ESPN3.com and ESPNU this Friday. It is November, and You know, in Syracuse, they're actually still talking about football, not basketball.
Really?
Rare at this time of the year in recent years.
What a difference a coach can make, huh? I got to ask you a question about your Orange after this.
Yeah, well, Doug Marrone, he's got to be, I would think, on the short list for Coach of the Year consideration.
Let's not get carried away.
6-3. A run here on first down by Delonte Williams, and they'll get about 4 yards. It'll bring up 2nd and 6.
And, you know, I'm a football guy, but, you know, I do like to study the pretty boys on the court. That's what I call the basketball players. So who's the go-to guy for Syracuse?
Well,
you're going to have Chris Joseph, I think, coming back. He was the 6th man last year with Wes Johnson gone. You know, he's a guy that could be primed for Big East All-Conference first team. He could have one of those seasons.
Be careful. You know you're in Georgetown territory here.
Oh, yeah.
Big East.
Oh, yeah.
Just some Hoyas around here.
Down losing Greg Monroe from last year's team. David Brown's going to get close to a first down as he got 4. It'll be 3rd and short coming up.
And that's one of the names we haven't mentioned much. We thought that David Brown would have to carry the load a little bit, and the problem is now South Carolina State has put Morgan State in obvious passing situations. Now the question of, do you stick to your game plan? I think with 4 minutes to go until halftime, you just want to get a score. Whether it's a touchdown or whether it's a field goal, doesn't matter. So this is when you use your offensive game plan. If your game plan is to run the football, then you stick to running the football. Don't worry about what the score is dictating to you.
They'll just sneak it right ahead, and Delonte Williams has the first down. So Morgan State moves the chains here with 4:06 to go.
And that's what you want. So you get to midfield, and you want to tell yourself, or you're approaching midfield, well, now we can decide we're going to go with the run-pass option. And also learn from your mistakes. I mean, what's the one thing we've seen Morgan State do on first down to have success? Throwing the football.
Yep.
You try and run the football against this Bulldog team, they're stacking that box. They eliminate the run on first down. So now you need your freshman quarterback to do some good decision-making with this pre-snap read on first down passing situations.
And SC State's agenda has been clear. Let's see if the freshman can beat us. Williams has thrown 1 interception so far. Play clock running down. They get the playoff. Williams' pass is tipped. Pat Washington, big D lineman, dropping back into coverage, and he got his hand on it.
You know, what do you do to confuse the freshman? You give him different looks. We're going to bring pressure. Take a look at number 53 on the right. He's not blitzing. He's just looking. Once that ball leaves his hands, he's dropping into coverage. They did that with both defensive ends on the outside. Dropped them in the pass coverage, get in the passing lanes. See, right away when he made that audible, the defense won. Once they have him checking, and we've only got a zone blitz on, not a full blitz, and the defense has won that chess match.
Delonte Williams 9 of 15 so far. Play clock runs out. Don't see a flag on the field. It's either a delay a game or a timeout.
There is no foul on the play for delay a game. Timeout before the delay, Morgan State. That's their first charge timeout.
So Morgan State uses its first timeout of the half. Donald Hill, his team staring at a 17-point deficit. And while we have a minute, we'd ask you to do what you do with the social media. Log on to Facebook.com/ESPNU today and become a fan. Tonight, we'd like your opinion on the question, which HBCU team has the best homecoming? Now, I'll say this. For the past 2.5 months that I've been working with Jay, all I've heard is nothing beats Howard homecoming.
Yeah.
So I know where you're going with this.
May beat us on the field, but you're not going to beat us off the field when it comes to Howard homecoming.
Well, Charlie Neal has seen every homecoming in the MEAC and the SWAC. Charlie?
Well, if you look at the MEAC, and I was just at Hampton last week. It's got to be Hampton. And, you know, I'll tell you after this play why.
He goes with Howard's big rival. Delonte Williams under pressure, throws downfield, and he completes. Gain of 20 yards to the tight end, Lamont Bryant. And
this was a good reaction by Williams and Bryant. You see he's scrambling. Bryant sees his quarterback in trouble. He was standing stationary. He turned and cut upfield, and it was a great job by Delonte Williams to recognize him. You see Bryant right there on your screen. He was looking for a soft spot in the defense, and he found one, and Delonte Williams threw a strike.
3 receivers set. David Brown, the low setback. We're going to get back to Charlie about Hampton. They beat Howard this year, so they're the real HU, at least for 2010.
There's only one HU.
Williams' pass complete, far sideline, and Charlie, tell us why Hampton has the best homecoming in your eyes.
And this may be just because of Howard University is landlocked. But when you go on to Hampton University's campus for homecoming, especially the day of the game, the outdoor barbecues and grilling and all of the other things that go along with it, you cannot beat that. You don't see that. You don't have that same type of atmosphere on Howard University's campus. In the SWAC, Jackson State, the same thing. The RVs, they start lining up a day or two before the game. I think in the SWAC, it's between Jackson State and Southern University, but I give Jackson State the edge.
We're going to talk about that after this play, too, Charles.
Williams under pressure here on second down.
Oh, what a slam.
Brings it out to Chris Flowers. He was being chased by David Irby. I love how Charlie just went Hampton on you, though.
Oh, he did. Well, I mean, off the record, you know.
And he was there.
We're on the record, brother. We're on the
Charlie's
air.
got Hampton in his household, so that's easy. So
yeah, but he was there last week. He knew. He saw the same thing I saw. Did you not, Jay?
Hampton is a growing homecoming. But the only problem with the Howard homecoming is it's too commercial. I mean, you know, it's a commercial. The whole city. I mean, numbers just speaking. You've got over 70,000 people that come to Washington, D.C. for Howard homecoming. Now, don't tell me there were close to 20,000 people at Hampton. There just wasn't. I mean, I would make the argument. I think A&T has a good homecoming, very good homecoming.
They have a great homecoming.
You know, that question was loaded though, because you see how they snuck team in there. Which HBCU team? Get team out of there. Which HBCU has the best homecoming? And you know, call it bias, but the one thing I can brag about is if we do nothing else at Howard University, we do homecoming.
And you know how to party, right? There's a lot going on. You're right, Jay. There's a lot going on in the city, a lot of ancillary events that surround homecoming. It's not just confined to the campus. I mean, no matter where you go in the city of Washington, D.C. on Howard homecoming weekend, there's something going on. So, yeah, I give you a little nod on that one.
And what I do say is, you know, and I think that's the big difference, Anish, between the conferences, and Charlie would probably agree with me. The MEAC is a homecoming conference. I mean, we do homecoming throughout the whole MEAC conference. The SWAC is a tailgating conference. They tailgate like no other conference out there. Would you agree with that, Charlie?
Yeah, there's no question about it. That's why I said with Jackson State, I've been to their homecoming, and, you know, they start tailgating a couple days before. You know how it is with the Magic City Classic. That's not even homecoming.
No more homecoming games in the MEAC. Right now it's Morgan State with a first down. Delonte Williams being chased out of the pocket, trying to make something. He's going to run and actually get positive yards. A gain of 3 yards. He had all sorts of time, but finally got 3 yards on what looked like it was going to be a broken play.
Yeah, buying time, and that's the thing. When you've got young legs, you know, you have the ability to improvise. He's been hit all day, so he's no longer scared of the shots and stretching the play, looking, scanning the field. That's when you need to get rid of the football. But the fact of the matter is, don't get hit for that little bit of yardage that he picked up.
We remind you that break in the action just a little while ago, that was Morgan State using its second timeout. So coming up on a minute to play here, 2nd and 7 for the Bears. They have 1 timeout, down 17. This is a give to David Brown. Uses the stiff arm, plows ahead before he's tackled after a gain of 4 yards. Christian Thompson, it's the Auburn transfer again, making the stop.
Now, one thing I discovered during the basketball season was the fan. You know, this is the super fan. This guy does not stop all game. I've seen him here during basketball. I've seen him here now for football. And he's moving the whole game. You know, he'll start shadow boxing for him. You see that there? You know, let me at him. That's what they call him. Let me at him. Let me at him. We're not done with him yet. And he gets into the game more than the team gets into the game.
Williams, plenty of time. He's one cool customer back there. Finally,
get rid of it.
Pressured. Looking to run. Again, changing direction. He's got that open in the end zone. And it's dropped in the end zone.
I mean, this is a quarterback that has you living by the seat of your pants right there.
How about no panic back there,
I mean, no, but you got to get rid of the ball right there. He's supposed to get rid of it. Then he got some blocks, which was good. Then he's supposed to get rid of it again, but throw all the rules out the book. He's playing some good old-fashioned sandlot football, and oh, you got to make that catch. You could have been on SportsCenter, young man. As a quarterback, that's what I'm upset about. That was my SportsCenter top 10 moment, and you dropped it.
That was George Young, who he was looking for in the end zone, and Young could not hold on to the football. So it brings up 4th down, and the kicking unit, Kamar Scarlett, on to try to get Morgan State at least 3 points. It's a 28-yard attempt. And this one sneaks through. So Morgan State will go into halftime down 2 touchdowns, 24-10. Your score at the break. Right now we go into the SportsCenter U studio with Charles Arbuckle and Lowell Galindo for the State Farm Halftime Report.
Prime time presented by McDonald's at halftime, 24-10. South Carolina State over Morgan. Malcolm Long has thrown 2 touchdown passes. Now let's get ready for the second half. Let's go back upstairs to Anish and Jay.
All right, thank you, Charlie. And it is a 14-point halftime game. But if you're Morgan State, you got to look at this and say, you know, we could have been within a score, maybe even 10 points going into the break here.
I mean, considering the fact that the freshmen made freshman mistakes, but they also dropped a touchdown in the end zone that would have made this a 7-point football game. So they've managed to hang around. South Carolina State had a chance to blow this game away. They couldn't capitalize, but the poise of the freshman quarterback, in spite of all the pressure he's been getting. Delonte Williams has been knocked to the ground basically every other time he throws the football, but he's hung tough in there. South Carolina State showing the athleticism, great play call there with the long touchdown score for Trey Williams there to start to gain control of this football game there. And Malcolm Long making simple throws like that off his back leg, exploit the defense. Long has had a great first half for the Bulldogs.
Let's look at the first half stats, Jay, and you see Morgan State really 42 rush yards. They haven't tried to run on South Carolina State.
Yeah, that's been the thing that they've been missing. They've got a running back that averages 6 yards per carry, but he's been non-existent in the first half. They've got to find a way to get him going so they can get back into this football game, settle in their offensive chemistry, because I don't think you want to play the #1 defense in the country relying upon your freshman quarterback to continue to make play after play.
The one big advantage Morgan State had was in the time of possession department, and Bears will kick off to start the second half, and it's a short kick. And South Carolina State will have pretty good field position to start things off. And Jay, you gave us your lesson plan at the top of our broadcast. Let's revisit it. So far, what are your midterm grades?
I got a rock and roll report card here. You see this right here, AC/DC. So for South Carolina, Malcolm Long's been phenomenal. He got an A. The defense did a C. I thought that they allowed the young freshman quarterback, Delonte Williams, to run around too much, control the tempo of the game. For Morgan State, offensively, a D. We talked about the fact that we have not seen David Brown at all in this contest. 7 carries, only 13 yards. Offensive line has to do a better job. And the defense, I gave them a C. You know, it's not their fault. They haven't had the ability to create a turnover just yet. But offensively, they've given up 1 turnover, so they get a C. AC/DC, little rock and roll, dude.
AC/DC, little rock and roll. You drop Mark Twain on us at halftime. I don't know where you pulled that out. It's that Howard education, I would assume, right?
And I've got friends in good places, in particular tonight in the truck. Shout out to my man Hadley, schooling me a little knowledge, which I promptly used to school Arbuckle. You like that, huh? Just when you're giving up on your partner, I come back.
Jay, I never give up on you.
There you go.
Malcolm Long will throw here on the first play of the second half, and he overthrows Trey Williams, his intended receiver. We talked about Malcolm Long. If South Carolina State is going to get to the FCS playoffs, they're going to need Malcolm Long to play like he did last year, where he had 20 touchdown passes and just 10 interceptions. Coming into today, he had 5 TDs and 7 picks. Now he did throw 2 touchdowns in that first half.
Yeah, so it seems like, you know, he's starting to find his rhythm. I mean, ball right there dropped. You can't control that one. I mean, the second series of the game, he hit Caleb Davis in stride, which would have been a touchdown or a big completion. That was dropped. So, you know, you look at him on paper, and you don't see much there. But when you see him in person and you see the decision-making, is he missing wide receivers that are open? No. Is he throwing the ball and they dropping passes? Yes. So he's getting far too much blame than he deserves.
On 3rd and 10, Long to throw again, and this time he finds Ashton Jordan, but Jordan stepped out of bounds. Joe Rankin forced him out. It'll be 4th down. You know, Long, preseason Offensive Player of the Year in the MEAC, but you got to realize that last year he had 3 pretty good wide receivers who were all gone. So he lost his top 3 receivers. His running back, Will Ford, the MEAC's all-time leading rusher, graduated. I would imagine that affects how you can sell the play action, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, you know, you have the chemistry, but the good thing he had going for him, he had a defense that was phenomenal, and you also had an offensive line that at times he doesn't get touched in games, led by Johnny Colbert, and we've also seen Jake Johnson play well. So passing games are something that you have to develop, that chemistry, and it just took a little bit longer for the Bulldogs to develop it this season, which is unfortunate for Long, which is his senior campaign.
Only a 29-yard punt by Blake Erickson down at the 20-yard line. And that's where Morgan State will start. And we remind you, ESPNU has you covered for the college basketball signing day special. It's Friday afternoon. Go around the country with ESPNU as the top recruits reveal their school of choice. The college basketball signing day special on ESPNU coming to you tomorrow at 1 Eastern.
Syracuse signing anybody good?
They've got a couple of big recruits. Think they got a top 10 class coming in.
And we can't talk about basketball here at Morgan State without mentioning
Todd Bozeman.
Back-to-back tournament appearances for the Bears.
A run on first down. That's Brian Mann, the sophomore. He gets 5 yards, 2nd and 5. South Carolina State defensively, their game plan was to take away the run, but we didn't really see Morgan State even try to establish the run in that first half.
Yeah, you know, the times they did, it was just bad play calling. You have to realize that this is the Bulldog defense that's committed to eliminating. I like that term. We both like it. Eliminating the run, not containing or slowing down to stop it.
They wanted to eliminate the run,
especially on first down. So I think the running downs on South Carolina State, if you're committed to it, are going to be on 3rd and short, 2nd down as well.
Delonte Williams under pressure. They blitzed Irby that time. Williams, though, scampers out of trouble, forced out of bounds by Julius Wilkerson. They got 3 yards on the play, 3rd and 2.
Now this is one of those downs you talk about. You know, 3rd and 2 is you can keep them guessing a little bit. You haven't had success running the football, but I actually believe this is the down in which you run against South Carolina State. I believe you spread them out, possibly don't crowd the box, and find a gap in which you can run the football. But a lot of it keys on David Irvin. You know, that's that dog linebacker. Right now, they've got him lined up at middle linebacker, so they keep you guessing, and you don't know what coverage they're truly playing.
We got a whistle as the play clock was running down. Timeout, Morgan State. So Donald Hill's going to want to talk this one over. It'll be 3rd and 2 for the Bears when we come back. 24-10, South Carolina State on top.
Hi, I'm Reese Davis. This year, there's a new award for supremacy in college sports as schools, student athletes, and fans join the quest for ultimate bragging rights.
All right, welcome back to Baltimore. Morgan State on 3rd down, just short of a 1st down. And so it'll bring up 4th down in the punting unit. Nicholas Adams on to kick. He got a lot of work in just the first quarter, at 4 punts in the first quarter.
That's going to happen when, you know, you've got a good defense that's very stingy in terms of 3rd down conversions. South Carolina State just doesn't allow a lot of teams to convert on 3rd down.
Richard Christie set to return for the Bulldogs.
Richard Christie fields at his own 30, fumbles the football, but he falls on it at the 34-yard line, and that's where South Carolina State will start.
Richard Christie on the return.
It's time now to bring the flavor of tonight's game, brought to you by McDonald's. That was tonight's McDonald's. Who brought the flavor? Morgan State's band, Morgan's marching machine. Magnificent marching machine. 6-yard gain by Ashton Jordan on 1st down. A flag flies in at the end of the play. That's on Trent Barnes, and that is the 4th personal foul penalty on South Carolina State.
Right there, that second little shove right there. You know, so often you hear it, it's the second person that gets caught, the second person that responds to the aggressive nature made by the first party involved, and get caught the second time. They coach you that, and the coaches always tell the players, if you react to something, you're going to get caught.
2nd and 25. Long gets rid of it. He's got Linnell Elmore, and Elmore gets about 6 on the play. It'll bring up 3rd down, and still about 18 to go.
Yeah, those penalties there are something that I'm sure Coach Buddy Pugh has got to work on with his team. And if you think about it, the touchdown that Morgan State scored, they were aided by 2 roughing the passer penalties. Otherwise, the drive would have been done, and they would have probably only given up 3 points in the first half. So if you're trying to prepare yourself for postseason play, getting this number of personal fouls, that's a quick way to get yourself bounced out of the first round of postseason play.
And we got another whistle here on 3rd and long. Pretty much the only flaw against South Carolina State today, those personal foul penalties.
3rd down and 14 on the 32-yard line for the Bulldogs.
3rd and 13. I wanted to check on the down and distance there. Long under pressure. There's that quick release. He finds Tyler McDonald. He's going to be short of the 1st down, but a flag on the play back at the 35-yard line.
Looks like this one will be coming back, and that's a great play selection schematically. Fake the run, fake the read option there. Quick release on the slant. Wide receiver slip behind the linebackers.
Shannon Easton, the head referee.
Receiver downfield on the offense, number 58. 5 yards from the previous spot. Replay, 3rd down.
Well, let's see if we can see this one here. Sam Timothy, the center. So they're saying the center is an eligible man downfield. Yeah.
Ball is spotted at.
Now that last completion looked short of a 1st down. Why not decline that and make it 4th down?
They may decide to go for it on 4th and 1 or 2 yards. You got a team that, you know, early in this game, 3rd and 7, decided to run the ball in for a touchdown.
Long here on 3rd and long. He's going to have to get rid of it. And he is almost picked off. The freshman Dominic Bryan. He can't believe it and catch it.
Well, he had a free one here. Long trying to get the ball to white jersey behind him, but good athletic play to adjust his body there by Bryan, the freshman from Florida. Linebacker, not as easy interceptions as it looked. On first glance, it looked like he easily should have had it, but the ball was thrown behind him. He tried to readjust in the air.
Bryan, a kid starting at middle linebacker as a true freshman, and the coaches say they loved his leadership. That's a low snap there. And Blake Erickson still gets it off. It'll take a South Carolina State bounce. And it'll die at the 26-yard line. And that's where Morgan State will start with the football. A 47-yard punt. They're down 2 touchdowns.
ESPNU College Football Primetime, brought to you by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. The Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year, and in doing so, they named it a 40th anniversary team, and 7 former South Carolina State players made the list. And we talk about those South Carolina State players. Among them, Will Ford, running back who graduated last year. He's the MEAC's all-time leading rusher. Linebacker Harry Carson, who's a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Defensive lineman Robert Porche and Barney Chavis, along with defensive back Donnie Shell, who's in the College Football Hall of Fame. And a committee voted on 39 of the 40 players named to the team, and you, the fans, voted on the 40th number. That 40th player is former Bethune-Cookman quarterback Alan Suber. He's a young man who ran the wide bone to perfection. He's currently the receivers coach at his alma mater. Congratulations to all who made the list, including our own Jay Walker.
Delonte Williams Going to tuck it and run here on first down, and he's finally taken down by Donovan Richard. How about that 40th member of the list, Charlie, Alan Suber?
Yeah, Alan Suber, I mean, he was a great quarterback for this Bethune-Cookman team. In fact, there was only 3 quarterbacks named to the squad, so he's the 4th one, and that was voted on by the fans. And, Jay, you know how great Alan Suber was.
Yeah, they called him Superman, and I think it's only right that, you know, the quarterbacks have made, obviously, you know, Jay Walker passer, Bernard Hawk passer, Ted White passer. No, but the MEAC conference is a conference that had a lot of option quarterbacks for years, and he's the only true dual threat quarterback to make it. I think you could have made the argument to possibly put a couple more option quarterbacks on that list. I was very surprised that some guys, like some other quarterbacks, Marvin Marshall from South Carolina State, one of the great option quarterbacks in this conference. So just imagine, you know, you having a conference, it'd be like the Big 12. Putting together their all-time great team, and they're not including Jamel Holloway or Steve Taylor, Charles, those guys there. So finally good to see they got a dual threat representative there at the quarterback position.
3rd and 2 coming up here for Morgan. And Jay, all biases aside, if you had to pick the best quarterback in the MEAC.
Ted White.
Ted White.
Ted White. You know,
and Jay is on that list, Anish.
I'm surprised he didn't say himself. I kid you, Jay. Delonte Williams, oh, no kidding there. James Fullwood brings him down in the backfield for a loss.
We talked about, you know, the same things that make you laugh, make you cry sometimes. So it was funny in the first half when he was able to run around and avoid these defenders, but it makes you cry when they catch up to you. They know that you want to run and try and make them look foolish. In that case there, great job by James Fullwood of not falling for the play-action fake and just making a hard tackle on a sack. And that's when we talk about the freshman growing pains. You got to learn to get rid of that football. You're not going to make everybody miss on this level of football.
First sack of the game for South Carolina State. They have 31 on the season. That leads the MEAC by a comfortable margin. Fair catch signaled for by Richard Christie, and he fields it at the 40 after a 34-yard punt. 24-10 your score, although nobody scored here in the second half.
ESPNU is home for the passionate college football fan as our
woman. The action kicks off following Monday Night Football on ESPN. College basketball fans, that's basically nirvana, or as close as you can get. South Carolina State with the football, a 1st and 10 from their own 42. Malcolm Long rather, under pressure, and he's going to go down. He doesn't quite have the mobility that Delonte Williams has, and it looks like Long lost the ball at the end of the play. I'm not sure if he was down.
No, there was not a whistle blown. And they continue to let them go for the football, so you would think if that's the case, they must be calling it a fumble.
Now Morgan State's saying they've got the football. I thought he was down.
Yeah, this is something you can't do right here. You're going back.
He doesn't have the mobility.
Well, you've got, no, that ball's out.
That ball is out. You're right. Zary Stewart forcing the fumble.
They had several opportunities to fall on this ball, but that ball is clearly out of there. They did a good job of allowing them to go for the fumble there. And if you're Morgan, you're just thinking one of us just fall on this football. They were very fortunate this ball didn't go all the way out of bounds.
So that's a big turnover here for Morgan State. And if they can capitalize here, they're looking at a 1-score game. Now remember, at the FCS level, you can't review a play. So whatever the ruling on the field is, it stands. And let's listen to Shannon Easton.
Inadvertent whistle on the play. We're going to go to the previous spot and replay. First down.
And that is an awful break for Morgan State.
Yeah, I mean,
that is an awful break for Morgan State.
You know, especially if they recovered this football in bounds. You know, the ball was there. I thought they were discussing whether or not the Morgan defender picked it up while it was in bounds. It's very close to that sideline. He got possession of that inbounds. That should clearly be Morgan football.
Instead, it basically amounts to a do-over because of the inadvertent whistle. But, boy, if you're Morgan State and you're Donald Hill, you got to be fuming.
Now, I thought, wasn't there a rule change that said an inadvertent whistle can be overturned? Replaying it down. or wherever the defense would get it. In this case, I mean, this would be something where
you're talking about a play right now that can easily swing the momentum of the game. I mean, now you've got 1st and 10 South Carolina State. Instead, you were looking at Morgan State close to field goal range.
And what gets me is if you're saying it's an inadvertent whistle, then you're basically acknowledging that you shouldn't have blown the whistle. And if Morgan State recovered the football, then they should have the football.
Ashton Jordan on 1st down, and he gets into the 2nd level. Across the 30, down to the 25-yard line. Yeah, you want to talk game change. Boy, it looked like for a minute that Morgan State had recovered a fumble. And now Ashton Jordan rips off a huge run, but right now there's a flag back at the 40-yard line.
Now you talk about a change in momentum just by one quick play from a turnover to all of a sudden it becomes a big play by Ashton Jordan getting into the secondary.
Unsportsmanlike conduct on the defense, number 90. Half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
That's Justin Young, and I mean, can you really blame Morgan State for being a little frustrated right now?
That's an emotional penalty right there. You know, you feel like you're getting robbed and you didn't get a break that you worked so hard for. And the emotions catch the most of these young people. This frustration penalty.
The game could turn right here. If South Carolina State gets a touchdown, you're looking at a 3-score game. They don't get much on that play. In fact, they lost yards. Ashton Jordan dropped in the backfield by the freshman Bryant.
Tackle made on the play by Dominic Bryant.
We've seen officials come under fire this season at the FCS level. In fact, the game that we did, we actually saw officials lose their job afterwards for getting down and distance wrong. Malcolm Long rolling out, throwing for the end zone. Austin Kerr trying to reel it in with one hand, could not.
Good defense there by the safety, Janari Gray. Doing a good job of playing defense at the safety position, but you know, you talk about the element of the human error, and that's the tough part about it. I mean, on this level of football, the FCS or formerly 1AA level football, there is no instant replay until you get to the postseason. So as much as you want to see the advances in technology on all levels of football, they just don't have it on this level of football. So that puts more pressure on the officials on the field to get it right.
Long on 3rd down under pressure, throws it in. Linnell Elmore can't come down with it. It'll bring up 4th down.
He's very fortunate that Linnell Elmore did not give up on this ball, because had Linnell Elmore not decide to go up and even tip it, this would have been an interception. This ball got away from Malcolm Long. It's going to float on him. He's gotten away with a couple of these throws earlier in the night, but this ball takes off high. If he doesn't go up and get it, you see the defensive back, Nico Scott, he was really ready to make that catch. That would have been a pick 6. So that's when you go over there if you're Malcolm Long and you tell Elmore, hey, good job.
Blake Erickson on for a 32-yard field goal attempt. 1 for 1 so far today. 15 of 17 on the season. And Erickson's kick is true. He's pretty much automatic, but there is a flag on the play.
Good, and the South Carolina State Bulldogs now extend their lead 27-10.
It's on Morgan.
Defense, number 6. Penalty is declined. Field goal is good.
So 27-10, Morgan State. What a turn of momentum. It looked like Morgan State had recovered a fumble. Instead, South Carolina State gets 3 points. A Bulldogs field goal has made it 27-10, and today is Veterans Day. So we remind you to join ESPN and support of our troops, wounded warriors, and their families. You can donate $10 by texting USO to 27722 or go to www.uso.org. And we'd like to salute all the veterans who've served their country. This is their day. It's Veterans Day. South Carolina State got a field goal, just a bizarre turn of events on that last drive. The Bulldogs clearly lost a fumble. The referees inadvertently blew the whistle, so basically they ruled it as a do-over, and the play never counted. And then Morgan State Couldn't stop SC State, and they got a field goal. For more on that play, right now we're going to go down on the field and Charlie Neal. Charlie?
Well, one of the things we know, the official rule is anytime the whistle blows, the play is dead at that particular point. So that is what was ruled on the field by the referee. So that's why, I mean, I don't know if it's fair or not.
Here's what doesn't make sense. If it's ruled dead when they blow the whistle, it would at the very least be a loss of yards for South Carolina State. They went on as if nothing had happened.
Yeah, they like you said, it was a do-over. Now that's the part that I think comes into question.
Oregon State now down 17.
Charlie.
Let's go back to the playing question. Can't really see it from that angle, but clearly a fumble. Looked like the whistle that you heard came after the play, didn't it?
I mean, that's what I thought.
I didn't hear a whistle up here interrupting the play, did you?
No, and they let him keep playing. I mean, if a whistle had been blown, then why wouldn't they have kept blowing the whistle before somebody got injured or hurt? And if the ball's dead, normally they're quick to blow the whistle to stop people from taking unnecessary licks.
Okakpu picks up a first down from Oregon State. They're in SC State territory. Yeah, it's just a bizarre play. And as Charlie told us again, as the rule states, when the whistle is blown, that's the point. The play is dead. And it just didn't really compute how that could turn into, well, let's pretend the play never happened.
I got some more on that, Anish.
What do you have, Charlie?
Well, one of the things is if the whistle blew while the ball was loose, the team that lost the ball has an option of replaying the down or taking it at the spot. So that's what South Carolina State did.
Why would they give the team that lost the ball?
Well, they didn't lose it because the ball was still loose. It wasn't recovered. I should say the team that had possession, the team that last had possession. I shouldn't say the team that lost the ball because the inadvertent whistle never gave either team possession. So it goes back to the team that had possession when the play started.
Now, correct me. Am I just making this up, or wasn't there a rule change that allowed for the inadvertent whistle to not penalize the defense? Because normally inadvertent whistle penalizes defense, sometimes offense.
If it's a clear-cut situation where there was a recovery, like we had one in the Hampton game last week, in that situation where there's a clear-cut recovery.
That play looked pretty clear-cut, though.
Well, it wasn't because the whistle blew while the ball was still loose and nobody had possession. That's the difference.
We didn't hear any whistles there when we listened to the replay. They all came well after the play. And my thinking is if the official blew the whistle quickly and then realized he shouldn't have, and the defense recovered. So that's why they're telling teams now, defense play out until you get stopped. And if you get that recovery, then the officials can go ahead and say, okay, we shouldn't have blown the whistle. It was a fumble. Defense's ball.
We've got another flag. It just feels the officiating is dominating the conversation here in the second half.
Well, it has dominated.
Now.
It has dominated the conference the last couple of weeks, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, and the magnitude of that one is, you know, if they recover that football, they're down by 17 right now. South Carolina State gets the ball, they continue that drive, and they kick a field goal. True, it's only 3 points, but that makes it more than a 2-score game. So now you're putting Oregon State 3 scores behind.
After the play, sideline interference on the offense, 15 yards from the end of the run, 3rd down.
Oh,
Chris Flowers.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's one there. You got a guy not involved in the contest, and he does that, and the officials are perfectly within their scope to call that penalty there.
They're at that juncture in the season, 2 conference rivals, it's late. We've seen a lot of unsportsmanlike personal foul penalties in this game.
And Coach Hill's right to have him leave the sideline area.
He not only has left the sideline, he's walking out of the stadium, and he's hurt his team.
I'm 3rd and 27. Delonte Williams chased and brought down by Donovan Richard. And it becomes 4th from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, basically.
Take a look at the play here. The tackle's made. Look at the right side. The gentleman that's got on the blue sweat top covering his head pushes both players. You shouldn't even push one, but you push 2 players. You don't have any pads on. Even if you have pads on, you're on the sideline. You help guys up before you push them over. Poor sportsmanship.
That was a player who's on the team that is injured, that was involved in that particular play on the sideline. And now he's leaving the stadium with one of his buddies.
And surprise, surprise, another flag.
I wouldn't be surprised if...
The snap, false start. Offense, number 52, 5 yards, still 4th down.
And he is now leaving the building.
I wouldn't be surprised
He
if
just
he got a letter. If he got a letter from Commissioner Thomas, doing things of that nature.
Well, you wonder if he may have been ejected. It's 4th, and the scoreboard shows 43. And a high snap over the head of Nicholas Adams, and he's just going to kick it out of the back of the end zone, and that'll be a safety. Oh boy, how things have turned for Morgan State.
You know, you talk about a team that started with that penalty there. They had some momentum. They were driving, but in the second half, high snap there. And now all of a sudden, high snap. Punter did the right thing, just kicking that ball out of bounds.
Well, how about this? In the last, 4 minutes, what could have been a Morgan State turnover, they could have had the ball at around the South Carolina State 35-yard line with a chance to make it a 1-score game. Instead, an inadvertent whistle cost Morgan State possession of the football. South Carolina State kept it. They get a field goal to go up 3. And now a bad snap leads to a safety. So what potentially could have been a 1-score game is now a 19-point game on the verge of getting out of hand.
And when you're playing the team, go ahead, Charlie.
You know, I was going to say, we're talking about identifying that young man who caused that last penalty against Morgan State. His name is Alan Singletary, a running back who's been injured, not on the team right now as far as playing is concerned, and I think they asked him to leave because of all that occurred.
All right, good job, good information there.
Good info by Charlie there.
But going back to the Morgan situation, I mean, sometimes, you have the records, and you got a team that's got a 4-5 record, and, a couple games could have gone, either way, but, and then you start to see why. You wonder on paper, you say, well, you seem to be okay, but you see them in person, you make those penalties, and this is how Morgan State got to that 4-5 record. You dig a little deeper into the numbers. Look at the teams that they've beaten besides Bowie State. All those teams, nobody has more than 2 wins.
And Bowie State's Division II.
Division II, and they had a successful season this year, came in 2nd place in the CIAA, but when they step up and play some of the upper echelon teams, it just proves they're not quite ready for the elite teams in FCS football.
How about Josh McFadden with a couple of moves, and he's down to the Morgan State 40-yard line. And we take time to remind you, a couple of Big East games on ESPNU this Saturday at noon Eastern at South Florida, taking on Louisville. And then at 3:30 Eastern in Syracuse, visiting Rutgers in the All-State Game of the Week. College football on ESPNU and ESPNU HD. And how about this? Our statistician Paul and our spotter Jen. We have a South Florida and Syracuse alum, respectively.
Be a good one there. I want to see what's going on with that Rutgers and Syracuse game. That's like a little border war. That Jersey, New York.
That was not a rivalry for a long time, and it's turned into one.
Along came Greg
one program went down, the other rose, and Greg Schiano has done wonders down in Jersey as Ashton Jordan gets a first down for South Carolina State, and Jordan running the football well. 17 yards on that play. We're at U Stadium here in Baltimore, Maryland tonight. South Carolina State and the Morgan State Bears. Alongside former MEAC Offensive Player of the Year, Jay Walker, and Charlie Neal down on the sidelines. I'm Anish Shroff. It's ESPNU College Football Primetime, presented by McDonald's. South Carolina State, they need to win out to give themselves a shot at getting into the FCS playoffs. There's Jordan again, and he is gang tackled after a gain of about 2 yards on the play. Second down coming up. Ashton Jordan's had a pretty good game.
Yeah, he has, and this is the point where they're starting to pour it on. You know, we talked about, in the open that they were trying to get some style points for South Carolina State, and the reason being they don't want to leave anything to chance. This is the team that has gone 9-2 before, come in second place in the MEAC conference or tied for the MEAC crown, and not been invited to postseason play.
Injured player down on the field for Morgan State with 2:26 to play in the third.
So,
and that's big number 91, Sheldon Jacques, senior out of Miami.
They were on the bubble when there were only 16 teams, and they were 9-2. Now that they've expanded and have added 4 more teams, were they truly in line to get that next spot? And I think we will find out this year if they can continue their winning ways.
Well, one of the things when you talk about that, Jay, that Buddy Pugh is concerned about is that a number of 7 and 4 teams may get in over 9 and 2 teams.
Yeah, that's why we look at. But I think, fundamentally they've got some good things working for them. I mean, to go 9-2, and you lost to Georgia Tech, who you don't get penalized for losing to a Division I school, in an undefeated Bethune-Cookman squad. That could be the key here. Bethune-Cookman going undefeated. If Bethune-Cookman wins the conference with 1 loss, then I don't think South Carolina State gets the invitation. But if Bethune wins out, I think they get invited.
Yeah, that's for Trey Williams incomplete. Go ahead, Charlie.
That's the key. And I talked to the MEAC office today, and their sports information person, Patricia Porter, and one of the things, it's not automatic right now that Bethune-Cookman rather, will get into or win the conference. Of course, they've got to. If they win out, it's automatic. But let's say they lose to Howard and they lose to Florida A&M, then Florida A&M could very well represent the conference in the FCS playoffs.
Unless South Carolina State wins out, because SC State would have that head-to-head tiebreaker then against Florida A&M.
Yeah. There's still some scenarios out there, believe it or not.
Well, it starts with everybody needing Howard to beat Bethune-Cookman as Blake Erickson drills his 3rd field goal of the game to make it 32-10, a 36-yarder. But Bethune is the one school that controls its own destiny, because if they win against Howard, and let's say they lose to Florida A&M, if they lose to FAMU in that rivalry game at the end of the season, you could have a scenario with 3 one-loss teams tied for the MEAC title. But Bethune, because of their edge in the tiebreaker, it's a point system the way it plays out. Yeah. They would represent the MEAC in the playoffs, and they get that AQ.
And what happens is Bethune-Cookman really would get 8 points because of the 2 non-conference 1AA or FCS schools in which they played. And South Carolina State would only get 5 points. They played 1 non-conference FCS school in Mississippi Valley, but they only got 1 point for playing a Division II school in Benedict.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Florida A&M only gets 4 points because they only played 1 non-conference FCS school.
And I was interested, you look at those top 10, and it brings it to reality. A lot of those teams in CAA still have to play each other the last 2 weeks, and then
that's a good point.
And then you take a look at a team like Villanova. You see 6-3, but they lost to Temple.
They're the defending champions. Well, they almost beat Temple.
So yes, so they're getting in. But I just really believe that with the 20 teams now you really see, okay, where are these other bids going to? Did you create the other 4 spots solely for the CAA conference, or did you create it for some other second-place teams that traditionally have not gotten the invitation to postseason participation?
Now, it's always tricky when you want to judge a team's resume, but you have to wonder how much do you give Buddy Pugh's squad the benefit of the doubt, given what they've done the past 2 years. They won the MEAC the last 2 years. If not for a bad snap, they could have beat Appalachian State in the playoffs a year ago.
Played them very, very tough in postseason, played 2 consecutive years. And look at the achievement gap. I mean, you got teams on there. Everybody thought Jacksonville, hey, if they beat Ole Miss, they're going to be the best team in FCS football. Well, they got knocked off by Georgia Southern, and so you got some teams that have beaten some 1A schools.
James Madison beat Virginia Tech,
and you didn't see them on top of the list there. So, the scholarship limitations are starting to shrink, and that achievement gap between FBS football and FCS level is getting closer and closer year in and year out.
Play action here on first down for Morgan State. Delonte Williams under pressure, and he's tripped up behind the line of scrimmage. That's Marquise Parks. You know, there's another part of that, too, with South Carolina State. Everyone talks about that home loss they had to Bethune-Cookman when they lost 14-0, their only FCS loss of the season. Before that, they had won 21 consecutive MEAC games. This senior class has only lost one home game, and that was against Bethune.
You know, take a look at their body of work. I mean, they were clicking on all cylinders. That Florida A&M game is when we knew they had a good defense, 19-0 to, you know, shut out the talented Florida A&M squad. And then the rest of the body of work lets you know that defensively they've got it done. They just had that one bad week against Bethune, and Bethune-Cookman's Cinderella story this year.
Fumble, and it's picked up by South Carolina State. Well, they blew the whistle again before the ball was picked up. So let's see what they rule here.
How'd they blow that whistle so quick?
Well, I'm sitting here watching. I'm right on the line of where it all happened. The quarterback dropped the ball. He actually tried to bat it into the end zone, believe it or not. Watch him when the ball hits the ground. Watch him, instead of picking it up, look how he swats it toward the end zone.
Now, did they...
David Irby and Brad Washington both tried to get it.
Correction, it'll be first down and goal.
But there was no teammate there. I don't know who he was batting it to.
Well, South Carolina State did recover the football, and they'll have a first and goal. Morgan State, they were facing an uphill battle to begin with, facing one of the best defenses in the country. Boy, the ball hasn't bounced their way, and neither of the whistles today. So South Carolina State has a chance to add even more style points. First and goal from the 7-yard line. And out of the eye, this is Malcolm Long. He's going to throw it, but it's over the head of Devin Weary, his fullback.
Pass incomplete, intended for Devin Weary.
You know, one of the things you guys have been talking about was South Carolina State possibly getting in as a second team should Bethune-Cookman win out. One of the things that's in their favor, and I may have missed it if you brought it up, is the fact that they have had good showings the last 2 years that they've been in the FCS playoffs.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, and they played against arguably the greatest FCS player of all time, you know, Armani Edwards, you know, at that Appalachian State squad.
And he was the kid, if you don't remember, authored the upset win against Michigan about 4 years ago.
Yes, so, you know, and they played them very tough. And, you know, you go back and you watch those games, it was just one or two plays by him specifically that eliminated South Carolina State.
And that was the last play of the third quarter. It's South Carolina State 32, Morgan State 10. It'll be third and goal when we come back here in the fourth quarter. Donald Hill, a forlorn expression on his face. Can't really blame him. South Carolina State had 2 field goals and a safety in the third quarter, up 32-10. In that third quarter, the Bulldogs 66 yards, Morgan State -33. 2 turnovers in South Carolina State's favor. They're +2 in the turnover department, and you can see averaging better than 7 yards per play in this ball game. And right now, the Bulldogs have a third and goal from the Morgan State 7-yard line. Morgan State turned it over on their last position. Malcolm Long from the shotgun. He'll throw into the end zone, and he's intercepted by Joe Rankin. Rankin's going to run it out. Oh, man, he gets out to about the 9-yard line. And it'll be Morgan State football, turnover for the Bulldogs.
And the struggles continue for Malcolm Long. As a quarterback, as a senior, you know you don't throw interceptions in the end zone. Defensive back has a chance to undercut that route, trying to stick the slant pattern into Trey Williams. Just picked it off there, and this throw you just can't make that. You got to see where the defensive back is before you throw into the end zone.
He's a big kid at 6'3", 260, and
made the tackle there too. Put some weight on.
Yeah, he did. But you know, one of the concerns the coaching staff had with him earlier this season, he came to camp a little out of shape, and his conditioning has been a little bit of an issue in his senior year.
Yeah, that was. I think that's, you know, that's kind of the disappointing. They actually thought he would have come into camp with a little bit of weight loss, and they say, well, we had to struggle just to get him back to his playing weight at the end of last season. Disappointing. He's kind of just had a look of bewilderment when you talked about the size of Malcolm Long his senior year compared to what they expected.
Flag on the play.
Play game offense, number 16. Half the distance to the goal. Still, first down.
What's Donald Hill thinking right now?
Can't believe it. You know, we get the turnover.
They've had a shot in this game. They've had a shot.
And then we come out and we get a delay game penalty to make it that much harder. So instead of having to come up with a 90-yard drive, score a touchdown, now you need 95 yards.
A delay on first down and a gain of about a yard on a play. And let's revisit our Facebook question from earlier. Which HBCU has the best homecoming? Jay Walker, or as he's known here in Maryland, Delegate Walker was lobbying strong for Howard. Jay, are you ready to see the results?
I think, you know, there may be some more votes. I don't know if we want to share it now. I just think, you know, there's so many debates. I mean, the good thing is we've had every school basically step up to the plate and say that their school's the best. So you've got 17 different schools that have claimed to have the best homecoming out there.
Only one's going to win, though.
Got to vote on Facebook. You got to get out there and vote. So let's put it out there again to them one time before we show these results and finalize it. Go to Facebook.com and who has the best.
You're trying to round up those independent votes right now.
HBCU homecoming. We've seen them all. And, you know, Charlie and I, we both swayed in some opinions. Nish, you've been around the block now.
All right, well, get your votes in because the polls are about to close, and we will have results for you very shortly.
Anish, have you done any homecomings yet?
I've not done a homecoming yet, no.
Okay, so we'll excuse you this year. Okay.
I did not do a homecoming this year, so I'm going to be the impartial bystander. I'll just count the votes.
All right.
Williams throws downfield over his intended target, Chuka Okapu, but we do have a flag on the play, and this one looks to be against South Carolina State.
You know, one of the things that didn't help Morgan State was the interception. The kid should have just downed it in the end zone. It would have been a touchback. They brought it out to the 20. As it was, he lost. He only got out to the 10-yard line. Then he got penalized for a delay of game.
Yeah, I mean, these penalties right here have to be worrying Coach Pugh. I mean, you're going to win this football game, it appears, but they're thinking beyond this football game. And the personal fouls.
Pass interference. Defense, number 7. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
That's Dominique Ellis, the NC State transfer.
Yeah, number 7 right here on the top left portion of your screen there. They're saying it was an uncatchable ball, but
he wasn't even looking at the football. And that wasn't Dominique Ellis.
Yeah, it wasn't Dominique Ellis.
That was Samaj Moody.
I'm tending to agree with the South Carolina State staff. That ball was clearly non-catchable.
David Brown trying to look for some kind of a seam, but boy, that South Carolina State run defense has been stout all evening. Second down coming up.
So here's something to throw out there. We've talked about, you know, Malcolm Long, preseason offensive player of the year. Obviously, his numbers haven't gotten there, so I don't think he's going to be the offensive player of the year. So it becomes a matter of who is the offensive player of the year in the MEAC. And I think as a young man, you and I have both seen him play. So I think it's a front runner.
David Brown does a lot of spinning, but didn't really get too many yards going in the right direction. Only a yard on the play before Donovan Richard brought him down. It'll bring up third down.
So
who's on your mind, Jay?
Matt Johnson.
Matt Johnson of Bethune's had a great season. Tell you what, Mike Mayu has had a terrific season for North Carolina A&T. I know they've had a down season, but just as an offensive player of the year.
Yeah, it's one there. And listen to the hit. That's how you stand them up right there. Donovan Richards played a great football game tonight for South Carolina State. Been very active. But, you know, you got the running back there, and you got an injured Bear.
It's Taylor Pass.
As they take a look at him.
Freshman from Athens, Georgia.
I kind of like your choice there, Jay, about Matt Johnson. I mean, he's done everything that he's been asked to do as the quarterback of the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman, and they're 9-0 going into this weekend's game.
And what's even more impressive is they've changed offensive philosophies. They ran the wishbone, the Wyatt bone for years with Alvin Wyatt down there. This year, a new coach, Brian Jenkins, comes in from Rutgers, and you know, we saw that chaos drill when they put him out on the beach and put him through a Marine-like boot camp. But, you know, they've gone to a different philosophy offensively, and they've been better. Usually there's an adjustment period.
Yeah, they will get plenty of postseason accolades. I think Jenkins will be your runaway choice for Coach of the Year in the conference. I think Matt Johnson will be your Offensive Player of the Year there as well. So, I mean, when you talk to everybody, the story about Bethune-Cookman, it all starts with the quarterback. They all say they had a quarterback to run the system that wasn't even playing a year ago.
Yeah, David Irby, the sack on that last play.
I think he's your Defensive Player of the Year. Well, no,
certainly
not speak too fast.
He might be South Carolina State's Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. That's going to be a close vote between him and Kendrick Ellis.
Kendrick Ellis of Hampton. Boy, the Predator.
Yeah, I mean, Kendrick Ellis has stepped up and had a fantastic senior season. And between the two of those, I can see that being
when you're a defensive tackle who makes 10, 12, sometimes 15 tackles a game, that's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
As a defensive tackle. Oh, boy. Nick Adams shanks the punt. Goes right out of bounds. And right now, Morgan State just looks like they're waving the flag of permanent defeat.
Now that look says it all.
That's a 6-yard net punt. Morgan State down big at home.
ESPNU College Football Primetime is presented by McDonald's. I'm loving it. 32-10, South Carolina State over Morgan. 11:29 to go in the fourth quarter. Let's go back up to Anish.
All right, thank you, Charlie. As it's starting to get ugly here in Baltimore, Morgan State just had a 6-yard punt. Yeah, 6-yard punt. Chris Merrill on first down, wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Loss of 3 on the play. Second and long. And more whistles. Number 32, Rashad Miller, down on the field for Morgan State. Now he gets to his feet.
It'll be second down and 14.
We were talking before we went to break about Player of the Year race in the MEAC, and where teams like South Carolina State and Bethune-Cookman, teams that have won, and won with style really, could see maybe some of their players get rewarded with postseason accolades. And you mentioned Brian Jenkins and Matt Johnson, Coach of the Year, Player of the Year candidates. It's too bad you can't give an award to South Carolina State's defense as a whole for what they've done as a unit.
Yeah, I mean, they've played championship-level football now. They don't control their own fate, but this defense has been as good as advertised. And Morgan may be losing on the field, and some of the guys may be giving up, but he's not.
There's your buddy, Jay.
Yeah, oh, you got to watch him, too. Look, watch him.
Shadow boxing, yeah.
When the play's going on, look, he's ready. He's hyping him up. Let me at him. Well, he'll settle. He gets active.
And as chilly as it is out here, he doesn't even have his coat on.
Something tells me he's not cold, Charlie.
No. Maybe he's doing that to stay warm. Long throws, completes to Tyler McDonald. And he is clobbered at the 15-yard line by Janari Gray.
See, now my man makes his run. See, he runs to get better field position so he can look at it. He's been going up and down the stands the whole game. Look at that. Let me at him. you know, and you got to have some fans like that. I mean, what the word fan is short for? Fanatical. You know, and he's fanatical.
He fits the description
of this program. And you know, I've done basketball games where the only voice you hear in the whole gymnasium is him.
Blake Erickson on. This is his 4th field goal attempt. And this one from 31 yards is no good. Just his 3rd miss of the season, but he might be one of the MEAC's best kickers. It's 32-10, a rare miss by Erickson. South Carolina State can't add to its lead, but still up comfortably.
A simpler way to ship.
Veterans Day all over the country. Here in Baltimore, South Carolina State leads Morgan State 32-10. And this Saturday, college football coverage continues right before we went to break. But He's been the best kicker in the MEAC this season.
First down.
And having a strong special teams. We've seen teams with poor special teams get plagued in the postseason. Sometimes that could be the difference as Delonte Williams completes that pass to Okakpu. And if you want to talk about maybe one big difference between South Carolina State and Bethune, let's say they both get into the playoffs, you would have to think the Bulldogs, based on special teams, would be better equipped to win a close game.
Yeah, they're more sound. And the thing that Bethune-Cookman's going to struggle with is they can't kick a field goal. I mean, we're not talking about 45-yarders. They're missing 30-yarders. And for them, a lot of people get their hands on their punts. So when they punt, people block their punts.
Which they don't punt often, but again, when you're going to play better defenses.
Yes, so the special teams advantage clearly goes to South Carolina State. But when you talk about a team that can score, I mean, if you can score and score touchdowns and not rely on field goals, then you've got a chance.
One of the things you guys have been talking about is what the scenarios might be for Bethune-Cookman or South Carolina State as far as the FCS playoffs. But we also want to take a moment and congratulate Mike White and the Golden Rams of Albany State for winning the SIAC championship. It was their first title since 2006. And more importantly, they're going to the Division II playoffs once again, and they'll find out on Sunday who and where they'll be going.
Division II postseason. I mean, that's one of the things you got to say. We keep mentioning it, postseason, the excitement that goes along with postseason.
David Irby. He just met Delonte Williams, and that wasn't exactly a pleasant how you doing.
Brought him around, see Irby line up in the middle, let it clear out, find a lane to rush the passer, and boom!
It'll be third down.
Never saw him coming.
I'll say this, the South Carolina State defense, they came as advertised tonight.
Yeah, they bring it. They average giving up 14 points a game. Right now hold Morgan State to 10 points a game, and goes back to even the touchdown Morgan State scored. Had it not been for 2 personal foul penalties,
30 yards right there,
would have kept him out of the end zone.
Morgan State struggled here on third down, just 1 of 10. They're last in the MEAC on third down conversions.
What makes...
Big game. Offense, number 16. 5 yards. Still third down.
That's happened a few too many times.
Yeah. What makes the South Carolina State team and defense even more impressive is they've been banged up this year. They've lost a number of players on both sides of the ball to season-ending injuries, and they've still been able to maintain.
Well, they lost their starting running back. And Chris Massey was having a terrific season. He went down with a knee injury.
But sometimes I think Coach Pugh's just crying wolf over there a little bit too. If you talk to him about his team, it's not, I got a really good team, we're solid. It's always, we've been banged up, we're thin. This team is not as good as previous teams. I don't know. I don't know if
Alvin White used to sing those same songs. Remember that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Find a way to challenge him sometimes, though, Jay.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing a South Carolina State defense this good. I mean, in those teams they had before, they could score. They had William Ford, who's all-time league rusher in the MEAC. Yep. They had wide receivers. But that defense wasn't just a shut-down, scare-you type defense. This defense they have now is scary.
Yeah, when you...
Morgan State's last punt was 6 yards. This one a little better. Goes over the head of Richard Christie. He retrieves.
They're setting up a wall if he can get there.
And he fell down at the 33-yard line. That's a 53-yard punt. Big improvement after a 6-yard punt last time around. Baby steps, I guess you could say. It is 32-10. South Carolina State on top of Morgan State here in Baltimore, Maryland. We're at U Stadium alongside former Howard University quarterback and MEAC Offensive Player of the Year Jay Walker and Charlie Neal down on the sidelines. I'm Anish Shroff, ESPNU College Football Primetime presented by McDonald's. South Carolina State's defense has really been the story of this second half as Chris Merrill gets to the outside and gets across the 50-yard line. A reminder to our viewers, Sports Center U coming up next on ESPNU. We'll have that for you right after the game.
Well, South Carolina State going on the road, up by 22. We talked about style points in the beginning, in control. They do enough to impress you? First time seeing them up close and in person?
I would say so. I mean, they've won with style points. How about their defense holding Morgan State to negative 36 yards in the second half? We know that they had a really good defense. We knew they came in with the #1 defense, and not only the MEAC, but the FCS, but negative 36 yards in the second half. That's impressive.
It is, and and coming on the road. I mean, conference games are one thing, but when you can go on the road and beat a team down and have your will, that lets you know that you've got a good program and you've got some leadership there and you've got some talent. At this point in the season, I always like to say in conference play, you know your neighbors, you know who you're playing, you know your opponents, you can scout them out a little bit more. Teams have had all season to scout out this South Carolina State defense and try and figure out a way to score some points on them, and it just hasn't happened. I mean, this is the 10th game of the year, and they're holding a team to negative 24 yards.
That's unbelievable. Negative 24 yards on the ground for Morgan State.
So, Coach Pugh, you can cry wolf if you want to. I'm not believing it. I'm seeing what I'm seeing there, and this team is good. I mean, anytime you have a chance to play defense and stop teams from scoring, you've got a chance of getting a victory, and I think that's the case South Carolina State. They get in the postseason, how you going to score on them?
Chris Merrill tackled for a loss there. It'll bring up third down. Tell you what, the one team that we've talked about here tonight is Bethune-Cookman, who leads the MEAC, and they played Morgan State and they played South Carolina State, and those two games really stand out on Bethune's ledger when you look at their schedule. Bethune's win against Morgan State, just by the amount of points they put up in the margin of victory, opened some eyes and made people say, well, you know what? All right, maybe this team is a contender. When they went to Orangeburg and beat a South Carolina State team that had won 21 straight MEAC games, I think that's the point where a lot of folks said, okay, they're not only a contender, this is a team that could win the MEAC.
That was my thoughts. You watch South Carolina, you watch Bethune-Cookman putting up the points, putting up the numbers. You say, okay, well, let's see how they do in the MEAC. And then MEAC play came along, and Morgan was their first test. You say, okay, they're good.
Yeah.
And then when they beat South Carolina State, you said, no, they're really good. And they haven't disappointed. And more impressed about Bethune, teams are starting to figure them out a little bit. They're struggling, not scoring as many points, but they're finding ways to win football games. And you know what their turnover margin is?
They're above plus 20 on the season.
Blue Pass plus 20, plus 25.
And another bounce that goes South Carolina State's way as a nice punt by Blake Erickson. And we take the time to remind you, ESPN is the home court of college hoops. Friday night, you can catch a couple of games at 7 Eastern on ESPN3.com. A reloaded Syracuse team takes on Northern Iowa. Then at 9 Eastern on the U, it's K-State against James Madison. Frank Martin's group, third in the nation to start the season.
Now, if Kansas State is ranked number 3, does that make the state of Kansas like the hub of college basketball? I mean, normally you talk about the state of Kansas in basketball, you're talking rock, chalk, Jayhawk.
The Jayhawks will be good, and K-State with the season they had last year. Remember Jacob Pullen, Fear the Beard?
Yeah. But I like that story. I mean, Butler last year. What about Butler? Butler's still, they're playing another tough non-conference schedule again, back-to-back season.
How many times do you think fans of Butler and their head coach Brad Stevens replayed that final shot in the championship game against Duke? Maybe if the backboard was just a little softer.
Took a half-inch of velocity off of it. Angle trajectory was just a little different.
Gordon Hayward would have been a hero. Forget Christian Laettner. All of a sudden, Gordon Hayward's shot would have been probably the signature shot in college basketball. And all of a sudden, Butler, I mean, their Cinderella story, I mean, it turns into something else. I mean, but the chimes of midnight, they came with, what,
close.
A second left at the buzzer. Jay, you sweating a little bit? Because we're about to reveal the
fact that you're
Facebook
getting excited
poll.
And you're saying this, you're asking me this with a smile on your face, it has me a little bit nervous. Like, I'm getting ready to eat a little bit of crow here. All right, what do we got? Facebook answer tonight.
Our question was, which HBCU has the best homecoming?
You gotta be kidding.
Jay Howard lobbied hard and strong for Howard University.
Gotta be kidding.
But it's FAMU taking the majority vote, 21%.
You've got to
You
be
couldn't
kidding.
get enough of your supporters to round up
got to be
and
kidding.
cast some ballots on Facebook?
That's all I'm going to say is you've got to be kidding.
Hey, Florida A&M comes in #1. Howard third?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
They weren't even third in my book.
Charlie,
They were second, but they weren't third.
Hey, they weren't that low. That's what I mean. You've got to be kidding.
Sometimes it's all about who votes. Flag on the play as Delonte Williams throws far sideline. He's got Derek Sherman.
Jay, you know the Rattlers strike, and strike again, right?
They do. They support their program. There's no question about it. But it's just a matter of, when it comes to homecoming, I'm assuming many viewers haven't been there. I mean,
now, I have been to Florida A&M's homecoming, and it has been a while. But and I remember even going back 10, 15 years ago as we listened to our referee.
Offense, number 71. Half the distance from the previous spot. Replay, third down.
But they did put on one whale of a show down there in Tallahassee, if my memory serves me correctly.
I mean, just for example, Howard homecoming this year, on the Friday before the game, they do Yard Fest.
Okay.
Free concert on the yard, 15, 20,000 people, free, featuring Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick and Rick Ross this year. And it's free. And then if you wanted to pay for a concert in the Crampton Auditorium right behind the yard, the paid concert was Erykah Badu.
And you're being Jay Walker. Tell me you got a good seat. Tell me you got a good seat.
Are you promoting homecoming for next year?
And it's been like that. It's been like that for decades. I mean, even when I was there.
Charlie, the only thing I hope that Howard homecoming doesn't have next year is Jay Walker rapping. We heard that when we did our first broadcast of the season.
Right.
There's no foul on the play for delay of game. Timeout. Morgan State.
One thing we know.
That's a second charge timeout of the second half.
One of the things we do know, Jay is very passionate about Howard. And, what's ironic is he didn't start his college career at Howard. He was a transplant. And let me tell you, you can't talk about Howard. and that's admirable.
I will say this, Charlie, and this is my first season working with you guys. And I've gotten to know Jay a little bit, and I can't tell you how many times I've heard, oh, man, you haven't seen anything until you've seen Howard homecoming. You haven't seen homecoming until you've experienced Howard homecoming. If I know any better, he did a pretty decent job of brainwashing me that Howard homecoming is the be-all and the end-all of homecomings.
Anish, if you talk to Alan Hooker down at North Carolina A&T, he'll say the same thing.
I'm sure.
Right, Jay?
Yeah, that's true. And Charlie alluded to the fact that I transferred to Howard. Had I not transferred to Howard, when you asked for the #1 quarterback in the MEAC, I would have voted for myself. See, but since Ted White went there for 4 years, I give him the nod. He's a career leader in passing yards.
Jay Walker, a proud Howard alumnus, and I will say he's a man of all seasons. He dropped Mark Twain on us at halftime.
That is one thing.
You went to class there too.
Yeah, that's Howard now. they don't play. One thing I want to say about Morgan, I remember coming here, and Charlie, I know you can relate to this, is came here years ago and we played Morgan and they didn't have lights. And one thing, they've got a new president here at Morgan, but the outgoing president, Dr. Richardson, started to focus on athletics towards the end of his tenure. He realized they'd been neglected. This new stadium and environment they have here at Hughes Stadium, they've come a long way, and the campus looks gorgeous. I mean, your jaw dropped in each of the couple of buildings you saw on campus in new construction. So the alums of Morgan have a lot to be proud of. This is a state-of-the-art campus now, second to none in terms of facilities.
Well, you were talking about when you played here, Jay, and they didn't have lights. When the Eastern Standard Time came into effect, you had a 1 o'clock game. You would hope that it wasn't going to go too long because you couldn't play. It was going to be dark.
Yeah, but now they've got it all now. Jumbotron, environment, crowd, so they're doing a good job.
Meanwhile, South Carolina State getting close to putting the ribbon and wrapping paper on a victory here in Baltimore. And they're a team that, as we told you throughout the broadcast, they're in the running for one of those 10 at-large bids to the FCS playoffs. Now they're 15th of the country entering play.
Now look at these teams here. Look at number 3 team, App State, number 4, Wofford. And the reason why I tell you look at those is when you talk about seeding for FCS postseason, it's regionalized. So those teams there could be looking at a date with South Carolina State. So just because you're the number 8 team in the country, if you have a team ranked higher than you, number 2, number 3, number 1, you're going there.
Yeah.
And that's why South Carolina State regionally has
Want
had
to save
go
those travel costs
to Appalachian State twice, back-to-back years. So with Furman being right there, App State being there, it seems like they're going to have some dates in Wofford being right there in that area. Seems like those will be some of the teams that they'll be playing. But they'll probably, if they get in, they're going to have to play a play-in game. That's something they change a little different. So you're going to have teams that are going to get buys, and you're going to have play-in games this year as well.
One of the things you talk about that, I know that Buddy Pugh doesn't want to see Appalachian State again.
Third time's a charm. He should be hoping for him.
App State has knocked out SC State in the playoffs the last 2 years, and there's another flag on the play. You know, one of the things, too, that's on the table that could affect the MEAC is there's talk of a Legacy Bowl potentially being in play as soon as next year, and
a lot of SWAC schools are in favor of it.
Sides. Defense, number 57. 5 yards from the previous spot. Replay, second down.
And just to embellish that a little bit, Anish, the fact that people may not know what a Legacy Bowl is, it would be the champion from both conferences, the MEAC and the SWAC, playing each other in a postseason bowl game. A lot of the SWAC schools are in favor of it. A lot of the MEAC schools are not, because they do get an automatic qualifier to the FCS playoffs where the SWAC doesn't.
Yeah, and basically if a MEAC champion were to take part in a Legacy Bowl, it would preclude them from taking part in the FCS postseason. As it stands now, the SWAC and the Ivy League are the 2 conferences that don't take part in the FCS playoffs. They stage, the Ivy's got their 10-game regular season schedule. And then the SWAC, they've got their own postseason with the SWAC championship.
And I can understand why the MEAC is a little bit more hesitant to buy in than the SWAC conference. I mean, the MEAC has a tradition. I mean, they're the only conference that's had a black college team participate in the playoffs and win the whole thing. They won the first year they had the postseason playoffs. So if you've got that history there, you just don't let it go away. And, you know, they've been competing. We talked about South Carolina State getting closer and closer. Florida A&M's made a good run a couple years ago getting there. So it'll be interesting what they decide to do in the direction they go, but I'm sure it'll be interesting for all college football fans.
It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. This one has played out, and South Carolina State has defeated Morgan State 32-10. SC State has just 1 game left on its schedule at North Carolina A&T as they hunt for one of those at-large bids. Coming up next, it's Sports Center U. 6 experts, unfiltered conversation you won't want to miss. ESPN The Experts, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Jay Walker and Charlie Neal and our entire crew, I'm Anish Shroff. So long from Baltimore.
Right before the playoffs, he was out of work about